episode.
Yo, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode. Well, I guess you would just call this a watch party for the Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson debate. Technically not a episode, but if y'all were watching last night, we had to invite back JR. Last night's conversation was amazing. The feedback was great. So I feel like, I think it was just easy decision to bring JR back so we can go ahead and watch this debate. I think JR might have watched a little bit of it already, maybe all of it, but I know I haven't yet.
I sure did.
So it's been a lot of reactions that I've been hearing that I've been trying to avoid. But again, we talked about it a little bit last night. I do expect Candace to win as far as like proving her point, getting it across. I don't think that this will push the case forward at all. And I think Andrew Wilson will get exposed for not really knowing too much about what's going on because he's never cared about the Charlie Wilson case. So that's where I stand, and we shall see. I haven't watched anything, but do you got anything, JR? I know, you know what I mean?
Man, first off, thank y'all for having me back. Appreciate you, Jay. I don't want to spoil too much, man. I'm just telling you that in my opinion, it got a little slow in the beginning. And then it kind of got too fast, and then it kind of slowed down to like a good pace. But the end, my boy, worth every bet. That's all I'm gonna say.
Say less. Well, I'm not going to waste too much of anybody's time because I know a lot of people had work like myself, and we watching it for the first time tonight, and I know it's about 3 hours. So we're going to get straight into it. The only thing I'm going to let everybody know housekeeping-wise, one, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Don't just be hanging out in the watch party, you know what I mean, in the dark. Sub to the channel, become part of the family, part of the community, and then also just keep in mind fair use. So I do have to pause it every now and then. I can't just let 3 hours play and not say a word. So I will pause it every blue moon, but it will not be an extensive period of time of just talking and all of that stuff. But it will be probably at least 30 seconds of just saying something quick, any type of opinion or reaction or whatever. And then we'll just keep it pushing. But outside of that, man, let me go ahead and get this thing pulled up and let's get it going. I feel like
let's get active.
I feel like I'm not gonna be surprised, but we shall see. We shall see. All right, here we go right here.
We're live. Candace, Andrew, good to sit down here with you, talking to you guys about the conversation that I think started with you being on Joe Rogan when you said, "Hey, I'm offering $300,000." And for the audience watching this, you have to know when you see this final product, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind closed doors. There was still communication till midnight, even some of the stuff this morning. Like it's like you're trying to sell a company. It's the last 24 hours that the deal doesn't work out, but kudos to the both of you guys that you made it work. The topic of discussion today, how this got prompted is, Andrew, you said there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson shot and killed Charlie Kirk. And Candace, your position was he's a patsy. Tyler Robinson is a patsy. So, of course, we'll talk about a lot of different things, but that's kind of how the whole thing got started. For the audience watching, I think this is truly for three different people. Number one is anybody out there that loves Charlie, respects Charlie, his legacy, what he did. We have a lot of love and admiration for what he did. He changed the lives of many people, young men, young women. You worked with him for many years. You guys were friends. You've said a lot of good things about Charlie, respectful towards him. You guys may have disagreed on some things, but yeah, a lot of respect.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm going to put it on 1.25 playback.
Yeah,
just
that's
to
smart.
See if it's okay. If it's too fast, please feedback. Say it's not good, too fast, whatever. Just just yell at me. But I'm gonna put it on 1.25.
Jay, does it let you do custom speed? In the speed settings, it might. Yeah, try like 1.15.
1.5. Yeah, I got it right here. 1.15. Okay.
There you go.
Like form. The second audience is the folks out there, that's watching this. And so for you've been wanting something like this to take place. And kudos for Andrew for coming out and saying, "Hey, I want to have this conversation," and for Candace to accept it. So You have the ability to say, I agree, I disagree, comment to all the stuff that you're doing online. And if you want to see more of these things, any of the 3 channels, subscribe to them, the Candace Show, the Crucible. I'm sure some of the people from Crucible are watching as well, and the PBD podcast. The more you subscribe to this, the more we're able to deliver these types of conversations to you. And last but not least, it's about the 2 of you. My goal is to speak as little as possible. 99% of the time, it'll be you guys speaking, and the audience will be able to see it. If I jump in, just so everybody knows on the back end, both have agreed. In the back, there's 3 people representing Andrew and 3 people representing Candace to do fact checking. So at any point, if somebody makes a claim, the other can say, can we fact check this? I can jump in and say, fact check this. Even the folks in the back can say, fact check this. So it is a very fair conversation that we're having here. And so with that being said, kudos to Michael Knowles. Your name was mentioned a lot. You missed out right now. The last 10 minutes, we talked about you. There's a lot of love and respect here mutually from both parties, all 3 of them here. And then, of course, the great Joe Rogan that started this conversation. And he also volunteered, but it ended up being this format that we have here today. So with that being said, Andrew, your claim is overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. Opening statements, opening comments.
Sure. And what I mean by overwhelming is I just find it very convincing. That's I think that's what most people mean when they say, oh.
That's not what overwhelming means. Oh, okay.
Bruh.
Continue. What?
No, I'm so glad you
convinced?
stopped there, bro.
Overwhelming
Yeah.
evidence.
So
I have a brief opening
Googled this
statement
right away, bro.
on September.
The difference between overwhelming and compelling. And I was like, come on, bro. You automatically out the gate tripping like this, bro. Crazy.
Right. That's not overwhelming. That's not what that means.
September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was murdered. Many of you already know a lot about the events which occurred after Kirk's death. You remember the ghoulish laughter, celebrations, and madness we saw from leftists all over, from TikTok invasions, debates, posts on social media, destruction of memorials, and things like this. Within weeks of Kirk's death, a cottage industry began to form, peddling various alternative theories on how he died. What special interest may have killed him, what nations were involved, and was our own government one of them? Because this was the first nationwide traumatic event in Gen Z's lifetime, the demand for answers was severe and palpable. The leading theory from the conspiracy verse is that Israel worked with the United States government to murder Charlie Kirk. Within a day or 2 of Kirk's death, Ian Carroll claimed that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, and the conspiracy caught on like wildfire. This theory was built on one misleading piece of evidence, that in his final days, on or around September 8th, Charlie sent a text message reading, "Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." This was sent in the context of a platforming dispute regarding Tucker Carlson. From this scintilla of misleading information, it was speculated that Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he would have successfully opposed the Iranian war. Now, that's a fun theory, and who doesn't like a good, fun conspiracy theory? I like them. But there is no evidence that Israel actually killed Charlie Kirk. And if Candace has some, I'd like her to actually show it to me. I'm open to suggestions, but to date, there hasn't been any. There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk. It's just Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to the security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed.
That would mean that Erica shared it with him, because she said that, who was it? Brian Harpal or somebody said that, Candace revealed that Charlie sent that message saying they were going to kill me. But Candace didn't know what he sent Dan Flood, or it might have been vice versa. She only knew one or the other. Yeah. She didn't know both messages. But he's saying Erica ended up coming out. I remember in a private meeting, and Erica said, oh, no, he meant the left. And so He's saying that he has proof of that. So that means that Erica, okay, so I feel like he's snitching on himself right here, saying that Erica has shared information with them to share to Candace.
September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me.
That's exactly what Erica told Candace in the one-on-one private meeting. That's why, like, okay.
So she had to have known, right?
Right, yeah, because Candace already revealed what the other message said to Brian Harbaugh, but she didn't know what was sent to Dan Flood. And so Erica, and as soon as that happened, I was like, Erica gonna make up something because Candace can't prove what the other message said. And then when they had the private meeting, she said, Erica said the left. And I was like, of course, it's some type of, you know what I mean? And now Andrew Wilson is saying that that's what the message said. So, I mean, I feel like this is him kind of admitting in a way that TPUSA has fed him information to debate, whatever is going on.
That was a message sent September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said, that he was worried the left was going to try to kill him. Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe I have more never before seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been. But that's what happens when you rely on what's called the evidence of the gaps. In other words, they don't have evidence. They seem to just make up evidence. And what did they make up? Well, in my opinion, kind of whatever lined the pockets. And I think it's ghoulish to profit off of the death of a good man. But we came here today to debate. And so let's get to it. The debate topic today is 1, my belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. And 2, Candace's belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson was a patsy and didn't kill Charlie Kirk. In sum, the audience is going to decide who has more evidence supporting their theory. My theory is that the state is correct that Tyler Robinson is a killer, at least based on evidence so far. And Candace's theory that Tyler Robinson is not the killer and he's a patsy set up by the feds. To be clear, this is not a question of reasonable doubt. If it was reasonable doubt, and that's all it was, and that's all Candace was proffering, I wouldn't even be here having the debate with her. It's fair to have doubts, as a trial has yet to occur. And the state hasn't even begun to try to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. But Candace makes a more forceful claim. She claims that there's more evidence that Tyler is not guilty of murder and was set up as a patsy than there is for the state's case. And I just think that that's absurd. And she will not be able to demonstrate that in any way. In fact, she has almost no real evidence at all of her theory, whereas my theory is supported by compelling witness testimony, physical evidence, multiple confessions, all of which are independently compelling, but which are even more convincing as each piece of evidence corroborates the others. You'll notice the term overwhelming was included in both theories. This is because Candace demanded I defend my use of that term, which I think is fair.
Is this necessary right now?
I thought at first it was going to be like, we talked yesterday about kind of like debate structure. I was thinking, okay, like it's going to be a formal debate. They'll do opening statement and then they'll do a little bit of cross-ex. But after this opening statement from Andrew and Candace, they just go after it. So I don't really, I guess I get the point of just kind of stating their case to begin with, but it was a little weird.
Yeah, because I mean, like we all know his position, but you definitely don't have to explain it to me for 10 minutes.
Right. Describing the evidence against Tyler Robinson. She, on the other hand, only wanted to defend her theory as merely viable. That is, until I showed her clips in which she said she believed the evidence of her theory, that Tyler Robinson's a patsy, was supported by overwhelming evidence. Only then did she agree to defend that position. Regardless, we're both defending the claim there's overwhelming evidence on our side, so it's worth defining that term. When I say the evidence against Robinson is overwhelming, all I'm saying is that I mean that as of right now, I find it very convincing. I see almost no evidence at all, only speculation on verified claims and suggestions of things that could merely be hypothetically possible. Dreams, vibes, feelings, things like this. Almost done, by the way. I have no problem defending the state's case and welcome Candace bringing up any challenges she would like, but if I'm honest, the reason I was willing to pay the $300,000 for this debate was to finally have a chance for someone to demand Candace be held accountable for the unbelievable theories and claims she's been making. Candace's investigation is indistinguishable from a leftist operation. She couldn't be doing more damage to the right if she were trying. She uses her considerable platform to relentlessly attack one of the most influential conservative outreach organizations for young people. She's making a mockery of the online right-wing commentary class. She's harming Republicans in an election year by dividing them. She's attacking the very organization Charlie spent his life building. And she's attacking the people he loved, including his wife. And it cost me $300,000. But today, I hope that she finally answers for some of that.
Thank you, Andrew. Candace?
Did you get it out of your system?
I did.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to waste time with the preamble because I think I just want to get to the substance of the debate and speak to the audience. I've obviously had an audience since we've been covering this case. People know that there was a personal friendship between me and Charlie, and diminishing the pursuit of something that makes sense regarding what happened on September 10th by throwing it to this is just people who are conspiracy theorists. These are people who are just trying to generate clicks. I don't think that people should be satisfied by that. I want people to remember that it's important to think. We've been lied to by the government a great many times over I mean, just the last couple of years, if you just think of the things that we've learned about our government. And I do want to say this, what's been the most disturbing element, I think, for everyone is that not only does the narrative not make any sense, which I'm going to demonstrate, I don't need to waste time with the preamble going through the points or trying to insult you or pretending that I've been running a podcast saying it's just dreams and vibes like I'm Miss Cleo. And that's the reason why it's taking so many influencers. It looks like $1 billion industry of influencers to dispute everything Candace says. It's not because I'm on my platform saying I had a dream last night. I don't think I think that diminishes you as an argument. Obviously, we have presented a lot of evidence. You just presented a text message and said, this is evidence. Well, that's how this entire thing began. You're talking about how Israel got into the conversation. It was because immediately after Charlie died, one of the first things we saw was this push to make us all think and remember how much he loved Israel. It's because the prime minister of Israel, who's fighting like a 27 front war, felt that he needed to come do a little mini tour and to be, strangely, to state that I did not kill Charlie Kirk, when nobody was having that thought that I can remember. Nobody was going, I wonder if Bibi Netanyahu killed Charlie Kirk. And then we had a round of influencers who lied and said Charlie was not changing on Israel, that he wasn't having any disagreements regarding that topic, that the day he died, he just loved Israel so much. And I demonstrated via a text message, which you just mentioned, and you're now contextualizing and pretending it was just about Tucker Carlson, which is not true. It was a part of a broader shift that Charlie was having over the last, I would say, actually, on your show, it began since October 7th, which is when I began asking myself more questions about Israel as well. And so, yeah, when all of these things happen in the immediate aftermath, and then I drop a text message after everyone is denying that, Tucker Carlson then comes out and confirms the conversations that he had with Charlie. Megyn Kelly then comes out and confirms the private conversations that she had with Charlie. People then begin to ask a reasonable question, which is, why are we lying about this? If they were forthcoming with that and they had said, hey, yeah, Charlie was starting to ask questions. I think after October 7th, it's reasonable that people are starting to re-examine our relationship with Israel. We wouldn't be here today. But it has been lie after lie after lie, debunk after debunk after debunk. Yes, I did share that I had a dream that Charlie was betrayed. It's not a dream anymore. It's a reality. I look at what the organization has become, the people that they are partnering with, the lies that they are telling, the extraordinary people that they're sending out to say that I hadn't speak to Charlie since 2018, and it begins to look like a conspiracy. And just as a historical,
her opening statement off the dome. I know she said she wasn't doing an opening statement. This is low key it right here. This off the dome. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know if Kyle is here tonight, but I'll be honest with you, bro. Everything that we said yesterday that was even a little negative about Candace, I gotta give her flowers after today, bro. She cooked, and the opening state, like from the jump, she set the tone.
Yeah, I'm loving this so far.
Yeah.
fact, that entire term was created by the CIA to gaslight people after the assassination of JFK. So it's not exactly one that makes me nervous. Like calling somebody a conspiracy theorist is essentially saying that they demand further answers. They're not accepting the FedSlap. So I'm grateful that you came today. I don't need to, like I said, take cheap shots and discuss your manner of debate or your strategy. And I'm also grateful that you shared that you had that text message today, because everybody watching knows that I have been demanding not a debate, just an open conversation with Turning Point USA.
And I want to clarify, I know she gonna cook. Okay, we all know she's gonna cook. She gonna always put on the show. That's why we here. I know I don't know yet, but this whole debate right here, I don't think that is gonna push the case forward. But I'm here because it is so entertaining watching this woman cook people. So that's why I'm here. Angie Wilson, I don't give a freak about. So I would not be surprised if she goes crazy, and that's what, you know what I mean. That's what we're here to break down. I gotta hear it.
Yep.
They should be here.
Yep.
It shouldn't be you in that chair. It should be the person that took Charlie's place, maybe Erica Kirk, maybe Andrew Cole, that he's a spokesperson. And rather than doing that, they send us another influencer. So let's see how it goes.
Just out of curiosity, are you between 0 to 100? What is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know. I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
That's not overwhelming. What are you talking about? 70.
Nor is it beyond a reasonable doubt.
He got 15% down in there right there. Oh,
like what?
Bro, this is what I'm talking about, bro. He don't care about what happened to Charlie.
And bro, I'm so glad you said that, bro. He proves it. He proves it throughout this debate. He is not, especially at the end. I cannot wait for you to see the end, bro. He proves throughout this entire debate his mission was cause chaos and confusion. He was not interested in actually winning the debate.
Bro, That's oh my gosh, bro. That's literally what we've been saying this whole time, man. And it's still gonna be hopefully entertaining, but this is exactly what I was talking about. He don't care.
Yep.
He's talking about it's overwhelming, but he's only 75% sure Tyler Robinson did it. That's the whole point. That's the all right, dog. Go ahead. Keep going.
0%.
0%.
I'm at 0.
So
With what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at 0%.
So not only, that maybe somebody was behind him as a patsy influencing him. You're not even saying that he didn't even shoot Charlie Kirk.
Right. I would, if you said, was he involved that day? As
Right.
I have consistently said on my platform, I would say yes, he was. I don't know what role he played, but as the shooter, 0%.
Do you have any evidence for it?
For what? My percentage?
The fact that he didn't shoot and kill Charlie Kirk.
Yes, which I'm hoping we're going to get to all of the evidence that he feels that he has. I mean, I'm not even convinced that Charlie was shot from the rooftop on Losi that day, based on the evidence that has been.
Do you think he was shot?
I do not think that Charlie was shot from a 30-06 from Losi.
But just shot at all.
I don't know. I think that a projectile hit Charlie, and I'm open to other people's presentations, but I have not seen any compelling evidence that Charlie was shot by a 30-06.
Can we see maybe if we're going to have an olive branch to each other, if maybe we can establish what we consider the facts of the case to be first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you're not sure if he was actually shot. You're open to alternative theories.
He was definitely hit with a projectile of some description. If we're talking about was he shot from a gun, a 30-06, I would say definitively no.
Okay.
It defies common sense to think that he had a Superman neck, and even if he did have a Superman neck, which has been demonstrated, I think actually recently a YouTuber actually set up Valhalla steel cages and shot it, and it went through. So under no circumstance will I.
So at least not a 30-06.
Definitively not. A
Okay,
30-06
but you
from
are
Losi,
open-
150 feet. No.
But you're not necessarily closing off the avenue that he could have been shot at all.
With maybe a smaller
Caliber. Okay. And then there's some things that I'm going to make concessions on that I do think we need more answers on, and I'm fine with that. And we can get to those things as well. The other thing is in the timeline, one of the things that we dispute, I think, on the timeline is that you think that Robinson drove hours away to a steakhouse in
Yes.
the timeline. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the compelling evidence that you think you have there?
I spoke to the owner of the restaurant,
Mhm.
and I have seen the receipt. I know the conversation that I had, and I think it's enough that it will be presented. Obviously, if this goes to trial, but yes, I do believe that he was in Penguich, which is near his grandparents' home.
Did he give you an unedited copy of that receipt?
I have seen an unedited copy of that receipt. It was not given to me from the owner. But I want to, before we get into like all the timeline stuff, I want to address what you think is evidence so we can keep this on par with what your claim is.
Well, I think that that's a piece of evidence that's in dispute. And that's why I'm.
Yeah, but
Because if
we're
not
trying to get
establishing
to
the
whether there's
timeline.
overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson did this.
Yeah,
So
if you
whether
want to
then
use
starting
the first,
with
if you want to use the first part of that for the internal critique.
yeah,
for you,
we should
that's
go
fine.
over the actual
Okay,
evidence
so
that we feel.
The first reason that I think it's compelling evidence is that Tyler Robinson's rifle was found near the crime scene. So I would consider that to be very good evidence. And also the fact of the matter is that I dispute this claim that a 30-06 could not have made this wound. I think that that's absurd. 150 grain Remington core lock absolutely could shatter when it hits the neck of any human being. When you say that there's some steel neck and it's a smaller caliber, you have to make a counter explanation. Why wouldn't a smaller caliber also go through bone?
It could. I didn't say it can't.
Right, exactly. So if that's the case, then ammunition is going to be the critical key here. And if we have frangible ammunition, which we do in this case, a flex tip round, well, I'm sorry, not a flex tip, a soft point round from 150 grain Remington core lock, that's just a small jacket that goes around the actual lead piece. This thing could have split apart in air for all we know, but definitely upon impact. And we have the medical examiner who confirms this in a summary. My team can bring that up, the summarization, which means he would have to be a part of some kind of conspiracy as well.
Okay. So just to start with your point about saying that the gun was found near him, near Losi Center, or I guess off in the woods. That gun, did you watch the testimony? Did you watch the preliminary
hearing?
hearing?
Covered it live. Yeah.
Okay. So forgetting what the summary of the medical report was, did you watch the testimony that was given by the Caitlin Oliver, the ATF woman, Samantha Carner, any of those people who went into the science of
Yes, I recall. You're talking about
the bullet
when
analysis?
Yeah, when they went into the DNA.
Okay. So that's kind of the most relevant part.
Okay.
I'm not denying, I've never denied on my platform or anywhere else that a gun owned by Tyler Robinson was found near the crime scene, right? That
Okay.
doesn't remove it. If you think somebody set up as a patsy, you could take a gun out of this room right now and you could walk out and plant it in the woods near a crime scene.
I
Like, that's
agree.
not convincing evidence to
I
me.
concur with the fact that that's a possibility.
So
Logically possible.
I think, have said on a platform that you were a gunsmith.
Mhm.
Okay. And for how many years?
Many, many years.
For many years.
Mhm.
You also said that you were an Army sniper.
I wasn't a sniper in the Army.
Okay.
And I never said that. by the
Sorry,
way.
your wife tweeted that you were
Mhm.
an Army sniper.
Yeah, I don't know. Like 15 years ago, she said something.
Does
She
it
said
change
that
15
was-
years later?
She said that it was colloquial. So I
Army
don't-
sniper is a colloquial term?
Yeah, I was never an Army sniper.
Okay.
don't
What
know
did you do
what
in the
my
Army?
wife
Did you
was
teach
talking
that? She didn't
about.
correct it and said you taught rifles in the Army?
No, I didn't teach rifle. No, I taught rifles as a private citizen.
Okay.
Mhm.
Uh,
And I was an NRA instructor for many, many, many
Okay.
years.
My
So-
wife's
alongside
dummy. Don't
my
let
gun
her-
show.
as with your expertise,
Mhm.
when she gave testimony on the stand, Samantha Carner, that there was dust and there was debris
Mhm.
that was found in the gun barrel.
Yep.
And then when we had the person who, and this was, I believe, Caitlin Oliver, who explained painfully about the DNA, the prints.
Well, let's start with a
No,
point
no,
at
no,
a time.
I'm not done. You said something, so I'm going to finish my thought, right?
You don't want to do a point in time?
No, well, sure. If you want to respond to,
Well, I
but
wanted
I
to
want you to
start
respond to
with
2
the
points. I
debris.
want you to start with 2 points.
Okay.
Dust and
Mhm.
debris in the gun barrel.
Yeah.
Secondly, the fact that there were 5 sets of prints, 5 plus actually by the end of the testimony, 5
Mhm.
sets of prints for which we already had the woman who worked for the FBI forensics testify that above 2 prints, if you're taking a sample, it's no longer a science, right? She testified that when they took the sample of what was on the trigger, they saw 5 plus prints. And among those 5 plus prints, Tyler Robinson's was the most degraded.
Mhm.
So I would like you to explain how Tyler Robinson's prints could be the most degraded when she said, actually, you could have DNA on something that you've touched. You could have DNA on something that you've never touched. And to get DNA degradation, they've looked at pieces, items 20, 40 years on that don't have degradation. Yet Tyler Robinson's prints, amongst 5 plus other prints, were the most degraded on that weapon.
Yeah. So let's get into all 3 of the claims. First, with debris. When it comes to debris, firing rifle doesn't always blow the debris out of the barrel.
Okay, that
So
you think there could be debris and dust.
Yeah.
He just fired the weapon.
Sure.
Okay.
not only that, he left it in a forest. Now, I don't know if you agree with me, but if you leave a rifle in a wooded area, it's also possible that debris could get in that way. But I'm not even sure that that's what the case is. I think it's far more likely that he fired the shot, it just didn't blow all the debris out, and it often doesn't. You'll find this if you take Grandpappy's dirty rifle and it's all dusty inside the bore and you go fire it. You'll often look down the bore and there's still dust.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
Okay. And the prints?
Yeah. So the prints we don't know all of the details on just yet.
We do. It was excruciatingly long. Testimony on the prints.
We don't because they haven't gone to trial, so we don't know on the print front. But Tyler Robinson's DNA was on there. You made a claim that Lance Twiggs' DNA was on there, and it was not.
Well, when she gave the testimony, no, hold on. First, let's go to your first point because that's wrong. We can get a fact check on that. What do you mean we don't know until it goes to trial about the degraded prints? She testified, and she
Yeah.
was the person who took the prints.
Yes, but the problem is that inside of this particular testimony, you agree with me that there's going to be much more of the DNA analysis.
Well,
during trial.
but you also would agree that her fact is not
trying to
going
get
to change. That
technical.
among the prints, his was the most degraded. So I'm
Mhm.
asking you to
But
address that. How
well,
could that be
here,
possible?
Let's give it. Let's just grant this for a second as a possibility that his fingerprints were degraded.
It's not a possibility. It's a fact. The person who took
hang
it.
on. I'm just
Okay.
granting it for the sake of argument.
You should grant it because it's a
Okay,
fact that
so
she
now,
presented.
so now it's
Okay.
granted. So what?
What do you mean? So what?
Yeah. So what? What does
So
that
what?
prove?
It proves that if his prints were the most degraded amongst 5 of them,
Mhm.
you're going to have to explain how that's possible if he's the one that recently fired the weapon.
Yeah. So wait a second. You're saying that it's an impossibility that if his fingerprints are the most degraded.
I'm telling you
if
to
that's the
explain it.
case-
You're the gunsmith.
Well,
so
wait a
explain it.
second. How would a gunsmith give an analysis on fingerprints or DNA? Do you think that I work in a DNA laboratory?
So
with
your answer
fingerprints?
is I don't know. You can just say you don't know.
But
You
I
don't
did.
have to.
But I did.
No, you said so what? So
Yeah,
say
so-
I don't know.
but
I
what would
actually don't
that-
have an
what
explanation
would
for that,
prove,
Candace.
though, is my question.
Well, I think that what it would prove is that it is a more viable theory that people who had stronger prints on the gun
Mhm.
may have used it more recently.
Did they say who else had fingerprints on the gun?
They named Matt Robinson explicitly,
Okay.
and this was a part of the testimony where she was speaking about how they got samples of elimination samples from the home of Amber Robinson,
Mhm.
Matt Robinson, and Lance Twiggs. Those were the 3 names they named.
So are you saying that Twiggs?
Would you like me to
fingerprints?
finish my
I
statement?
just want to make sure I'm clarifying.
I'm trying to finish the answer, but it can't be clarified until the answer comes out of my mouth.
Okay. Go
So
ahead.
this was a portion of her testimony
Cool.
where she was explaining how they got elimination samples from the home. And she named Matt Robinson, Amber Robinson, and Lance Twiggs as the elimination samples that she was using. And so she explicitly said, she said some of them some, so we can assume 2 out of the 3 were their prints were found on the gun. She explicitly named Matt Robinson as someone who had prints on the gun, and then said there were 5 people that they had taken that sample from. And again, what's also relevant here is the earlier testimony, which came from the FBI forensics analyst, I believe it was on day 2, where she said that when you're using those mixtures and those samples and you get up to 5+, it's really hard to make any sort of a determination. So both of those things are relevant. If you can't explain why his prints are the most degraded and you're saying he is the shooter, it's not really a so what. It's an open-ended question that people have a right to pursue. It's not a conspiracy. It's actually proof of my claim that there's evidence that he was set up as a patsy.
That wouldn't prove anything about him being a patsy.
It said it's evidence to support the claim that he could have been set up as a patsy.
So this is why I said earlier, so what? Because even if it's the case, this doesn't have an explanation.
That's all he does.
That doesn't actually give you any evidence in your corner for Tyler Robinson.
So what does that mean?
Okay,
hang on. I didn't cut you off. Right? You would need to actually explain how this would demonstrate Tyler Robinson. This is tied into Robinson being a patsy. Are you claiming that these fingerprints were Lance Twiggs or that he had any DNA there?
I'm saying that it could be Matt Robinson. It could be Amber Robinson. That sort of information is going to come out during the trial.
How would that tie into the idea that
I'm just pausing really quick, but we talked about this yesterday and leading up to this. This is his tactic. So what? What conclusion are you drawing to? And the whole point that she's trying to make is that it leaves a lot of open-ended questions. Like, these things need to be answered. It doesn't make any sense. And he's like, well, that's all. Like, I mean, so what? How do you get from A to B? How do you get from multiple fingerprints on the gun to automatically patsy? And it's not her job to prove that, but that's his tactic every single time.
Right.
A patsy.
Yes, because if his is the most degraded prints and the information that I shared on my platform is true, that this gun was given to Tyler Robinson as an heirloom. I had conversation with members of the Robinson family, Twiggs family, both of them. Like I said, we're not just dreaming. And if we're having those conversations and they told me that gun was only given to Tyler Robinson because it was a family heirloom. Okay, so it was his grandfather's gun or great grandfather's gun. Okay. I don't remember the difference. I don't remember which one it was. And so he got it because he's the firstborn. So, but he's not much of a shooter, is what I was told. And so he has this because he inherited it, essentially. So if I get something from my grandpa and I put it up on the shelf and I own this, you could see that could be.
How do we get to the patsy part?
You don't let me ever get to the end of the sentence. So how could we get to the patsy part?
Okay, I'll wait patiently.
So that could be a reasonable explanation as to why there was dust in the barrel, because he doesn't often shoot this weapon and he is indeed a fisher. And it could also be a reasonable explanation for why we have Matt Robinson's prints on this. Obviously, Lance Twiggs, even if he has prints on things, they live together. That doesn't really mean anything. But that could demonstrate that somebody took his weapon and put it somewhere. His prints are the most degraded. Somebody else's prints, there's more presence of somebody else's prints. And that could demonstrate that somebody is taking items from his house and putting it into various places. But it also could
demonstrate nothing. So the problem that you have here is that this is pure conjecture. No, this is not evidence that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. It's only evidence that you have conjectured up that, if it's the case that these are the more degraded prints, then therefore that means must be patsy because dad's fingerprints on gun.
I didn't say must be patsy.
Describe how this actually links in to Robinson being a patsy.
Okay, I just described that for you, so I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you, so I'm going to move on from that. But to just go back to your point about this is not evidence, you can't make that claim because the entire basis for.
I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Oh my!
Put it on a t-shirt, bro. The quote of the debate. And you know what's crazy, bro? Real quick. So Andrew is adamant here. Oh, you're basically taking one piece of evidence and trying to make it a foregone conclusion, like this one piece of evidence. But later on, he's going to argue that his position is based on the collection of all the evidence. So it's like he keeps setting up these standards that he's not willing to uphold himself. And it just gets old. It gets old quick.
Yeah. That's tough. She's like politely throwing out jabs.
Why you think that there's evidence for Tyler Robinson being the person that took the shot is based off of a hearing under Utah 1102 rules, meaning that they are doing the exact same thing that I am doing. This is the state. You said you're here to represent the state. Well, did you watch the preliminary hearing?
I didn't say I was here to represent the state.
The state's position you think is strong and convincing.
What I'm here to do is represent my own opinion, which is that based on the evidence presented so far by the state.
The state has presented evidence under Utah's 1102 rule.
But this doesn't demonstrate any patsy behavior.
That's very important because that rule is hearsay. So you can't say at the same time,
Great.
Candace, you're not allowed to. And what that means under the Utah rule, which I'm sure you know, because I'm sure you watched the preliminary hearing and yourself understand what that means, is that the entire hearing was hearsay. It means none of that information that was presented is going to be allowed. The majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it is not going to be allowed at the trial. They're allowed to present when it's just a probative hearing.
I don't think all the evidence that was put in was hearsay.
Okay, you didn't watch this case.
But not only that, no.
This is a huge point. This is crazy that you don't know this.
Fact check. If
Yeah,
all the evidence
we need more than a fact check. This was every single day. Utah Rule 1102.
They want to go there. So they said there's a medical examiner's explanation of the shooting that's in the back. Rob, if you want to pull it up, and then Candace, if anybody from your team wants to pull something up, no problem as well. But they're requesting it. If you guys got it, pull it up so we can show it. And in the interim, is that it?
Yeah. So I'll read this.
Just what are we looking at, just so we know?
Yeah, so this says the bullet, or at least part of it, sequentially perforated the interior left of Mr. Kirk's neck, strap muscles of the left side of the neck. This is a summary, by the way. Left common cartoid on the left internal external jugular veins. The bullet also obliterated the left side C27 vertebrae, transacted the cervical spinal cord. Medical examiner observed a significant portion of Kirk's cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent. Mr. Kirk suffered from other severe injuries, including bilateral, apical, and posterior intercausal hemorrhages, pulmonary, apical hemorrhages, multiple disruptions to the thyroid, et cetera, et cetera. So the summary of the examination said he was shot.
Okay.
That was what they were pulling that up for.
Okay. And I'm not disputing that he could have been hit with a projectile. We're not disputing that. So I don't know why this was brought up as a fact check. Could you bring up 1102 Utah rule? Because this is an unbelievable point that you're making by saying that I am not allowed to infer off of evidence.
You can infer. I'm trying to follow the inference.
But your entire reason, like you asserted that you believe there's overwhelming evidence on the basis of what we saw in the preliminary hearing. The entire preliminary hearing was hearsay.
Yeah, I'm fine with your inferences.
No, you just literally said I couldn't do that. Yes, I can.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying from your inference, how do we get to Patsy?
This is how you got to Shooter. The Tyler Robinson did it.
No,
the same
no,
way
no,
that you got to Tyler.
From that.
Yes, you did. You again, this is something important. So we should pull up a fact check about what the 1102 Utah, and under their constitution, for the sake of a preliminary hearing, they do not have to have hard evidence. They don't have to put people on the trial.
They don't have to.
But no, that's why the entire hearing was basically hearsay. Officer Bagley
but
was
not
saying,
all of it, like I said.
The overwhelming majority.
Again, no dispute.
Outside of the one that you don't want to give. Please don't cut me off.
Though.
Outside of that is what's in dispute. It means that your entire brand of saying you don't have evidence.
Buddy might need a smoke break, bro. His foot is going crazy.
Bruh, you see that foot, bruh?
Bro, his
that
foot
foot need a square so bad.
You don't have evidence falls apart when the entire preliminary hearing is based off of hearsay. In fact, Lance's testimony before they had about an hour debate, actually maybe it was more than an hour debate before he sat, and they said this is not going to be allowed. You wouldn't even be allowed to do this. We'd be able to cross-examine him. The questions that they're asking Lance are all leading. And what did he say? Well, I'm the magistrate under Utah Constitution, 1102. It is my job to allow all of this so we can see if the state has enough here that we can then move to a trial, which will then they would not allow this stuff. They would say we get to cross-examine Lance. Lance just can't willy-nilly say.
I'm not disputing.
No, but the entire substance of your argument is that people can't infer off of evidence.
No,
that's what you're saying
it's
to
not.
me. When you say Candace,
Here,
you
I'll
can't
give
talk
you the
about the great
argument
inference, which is a fact.
Yeah, I'm not
and then
saying
infer
that.
off of that
Didn't say that.
Tyler could have been a patsy.
You're just literally making stuff up. So here's what the position is. I'm asking this.
I'm saying that I think you let's pull that up. Let's pull that up. I am doing exactly what the state did. I'm looking at a piece of evidence and I am saying.
But you're not showing me how you get there.
Can you describe to the audience what Rule 1102
so this, just so everybody who's watching this at home understands what I'm saying, even if he doesn't. What Andrew is arguing is that I don't have the right to extrapolate from a fact like
making it up. Just purely making it up. I'm asking based on
Andrew.
Based on
can
your
I show my
inference.
evidence? You just showed yours. Reliable hearsay.
You'll get a chance.
Reliable hearsay in criminal preliminary examinations. The entire preliminary hearing that you just saw was on the basis of reliable hearsay. And what that means essentially is the people who are making the statements can just say, Patrick told me that he did this on Monday. Patrick's not here. And that is, they can allow that into the hearing. That's just because it's just meant to be probative. And so it's the state saying, here's what we have inferred. So you are allowed to take a piece of evidence and then you are allowed to infer off of that evidence. Okay. Case in point, that's a demonstration that's a demonstration of what I just did. I said, the prints were the most degraded off of Tyler Robinson. And from that, what I am inferring is that it's plausible that Tyler Robinson was set up.
That doesn't, that's the point in contention.
That's not a point in contention. That's
the point in contention.
It's not a point in contention. If you're saying it's a point,
it is the point in contention.
It's not the point in contention. I'm telling you that is what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I have to just rewind a little bit. I'm just staring at his foot. Buddy is going through withdrawal. Oh my god,
That's the point in contention.
That's not a point in contention. That's
the point in contention.
It's not a point in contention. If you're saying it's a
It
point,
is the point in contention.
it's not the point in contention. I'm telling you that is what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence that he is
Great, but
describing,
we're asking you
that
now.
he is using to argue his case,
Yo.
is all based on inference, not fact.
Great.
Inference, not fact.
We're
So what they
just-
are inferring off of the facts.
So again, we're going to take this, and I'm just going to even grant it because it's irrelevant. I'm asking how you get to the inference that even if you dispute that piece of evidence, that means Patsy. I'm looking for the logical chain for how you get to that inference.
What I am telling you is it's the exact same way that when you tweeted, I think that this evidence is overwhelming. When they say that looks like Tyler Robinson's car, he drives a similar car. Okay, they are inferring that that's Tyler
Can
Robinson.
you walk me through the inference
The
so that I
infer-
understand?
It's not a fact. It's not a fact. When you show a blurry image, which you kept citing that we
No,
have
I'm talking
images.
about your inference that the fingerprints, even if they're degraded, equals Patsy. How do you
I
get
didn't
that
say,
inference?
I didn't say it equals Patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored, which is exactly what this preliminary was in the
but
inverse.
that's not what in dispute. What's in dispute is when you said, I'm using this as evidence that he could have been a Patsy. I'm asking, how do you get to the inference
they're going in circles, but this is his tactic. He does this all the time.
Yes. Yep.
to Patsy
Yep.
from that?
Because what I am saying is that it shows that somebody else had more DNA presence on that gun than Tyler Robinson did. So it is plausible, which is all they're doing. They're presenting plausibility based off of the facts.
Mhm.
Okay. It is plausible that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Is there equally,
That's how it works.
and is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So,
So-
yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
Just so we're clear,
if
this
there's
is the
100 other
state's evidence,
plausible
and they're inferring.
explanations, then Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a Patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a Patsy. I am saying that there is.
I thought that was the whole defense, your whole claim
No,
today.
my whole claim was that there is more evidence that he has set up as a Patsy.
How does that equal evidence of Patsy?
I don't know
never
how
said
to
it
say
does.
this. Like I'm saying that I am using the exact same mechanism that you are
Mhm.
accepting for some reason in the Utah courtroom.
Yeah.
Right. To say I'm going to look at the evidence and I'm going to infer an alternative theory. So you just saw the states and you're accepting it, and they have not presented any concrete facts. You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I
The
didn't.
standard white guy coming up the steps that could literally be anyone.
This never happened.
Can we
You
get a
can
fact check on
fact
that?
check
Can
it.
we pull up his
I
tweet
didn't-
where he goes
I
over the
didn't say
four?
that's what convinced me.
When you actually didn't say it's what convinced me, but you said
Right.
this is the evidence that you found to be overwhelming, and you named, I believe, actually 5 things. I think you said it was his car. You said it
Well,
was.
there's multitudes of things that I find
You
to
just said
be
you didn't
compelling
say it, so we're going to get a
evidence.
fact check on that. You
Sure.
did.
Go ahead.
You said the blurry images coming up the steps. Quite literally, when
Mhm.
Officer Bagley testified, they talk about when I'm talking about making inference. This is the most I thought was the most absurd testimony I've ever heard. And pardon me, it was actually David Hull. They asked him a question: how did you know the guy in the maroon shirt was the same as the guy that came up the stairs later that was wearing the American flag black shirt? And he said, they're wearing the same shoes.
Why is that absurd?
That's how you decided these two are the same people. Oh, wow. What a scientific. They're both wearing Converses. Okay. That's an absurd thing to say. That is not evidence that these are the same people if we're both wearing Converses. That was what he said. That's what flew on the
Okay,
stand.
but I still don't understand how that would be absurd. If somebody,
It's an absurd thing.
for instance, if somebody were to change their clothes but keep the same shoes on, wouldn't you utilize the shoes to try to track that person? If
The
they were changing
idea
their
that on a
clothes?
college campus, 2 people wearing this totally different outfits, but both
Mm-hmm.
wearing Converses can't happen is such an absurdity that I don't even need to argue that. I'm just going to let people. Why is it
Okay.
absurd? Just concede that point. Obviously, it's an absurd
I
thing
don't.
to say.
I'm not
I know
sure.
these are the
I'm
same
not
people
sure in
because they're both
context.
wearing Converse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in context that's what happened, but
It
even
is.
if it
You
is,
can get a fact check on
but
it.
even if it is, again,
And it was
if we're
Hull.
utilizing inferences, whenever we're dealing with logic and we're dealing with making a logical inference, we're going to take the entire collaboration of evidence and then we're going to make inferences from that. You would do that with any type of logical proposition. Otherwise, you could never have a true or false claim.
You just told me I couldn't.
So
do
when
that.
that never happened. You're just making stuff up. So anyway, when we're talking about logical inferences, what I'm looking for is the logical inferences that you have that Tyler Robinson's a Patsy based on the totality of evidence that you have.
We can keep going through your other evidence. We should find
Yes.
his tweet where he lists the reasons that he was convinced.
So
I
let's
mean,
start with the 30-06. I think that's fine.
Your team's looking for. Do you remember how long ago that was?
the tweets of the 5. Did you delete it or no?
No, I
Did you
don't
delete
delete
any tweets?
tweets.
Okay, cool. Just look for. He said
Unless I
it was
missed
his
it.
Your wife
car. It was his. It was the car, and it was definitely the.
He's a professional gaslighter, bro. Like, it's crazy. He's like, you're just making stuff up.
He's really good at it.
Like, no, I'm
He's
not.
really good at it, bro.
Somebody said, so give me the clear evidence right here. I want you to provide it right here. All I heard from the investigator was, we believe this to be Tyler Robinson. Is belief something you go as a fact? You wrote the car pulling in. That's a totally blurry image. Robinson getting out of it. You have no idea if that's Tyler Robinson. The fact that he is seen 4 other times on camera, the fact being just a standard white boy with brown hair was seen walking up staircase. The DNA on the roof, we should discuss that. And on the screwdriver that he left behind, it's overwhelming, man.
Yeah, but that's not an exhaustive list.
Well, just so we're clear, you did tweet it.
But it's not an exhaustive.
Yeah,
well,
but just
you
5
said
seconds ago, you should concede.
You said I only said this one thing and said that was overwhelming, actually.
No, she literally said like 5 things. What did you... Bro,
That's not what I said.
Sir.
You can even
Patrick,
pull your
did
own
I
clip.
say
Sir.
Can you fact check if
just
that was said or
said,
not? I
like,
did not
5
hear her
things.
say
So the
this.
thing is funny here is like we still aren't getting to any of these inferences. So these,
Why are you pivoting?
so
but
the-
just say
well,
you were
I'm
wrong.
not. I'm
It's cool
gonna-
to just say I was wrong. I didn't say it.
I'm not wrong. So back
You
to
were
the
wrong
tweet,
on that.
the tweet aspect here. It was really funny. That's not an exhaustive list of why I find it.
I didn't say it was exhaustive. I just said you said it.
And on top of well, no, you didn't. You said that I only said this one thing, and then said based on that it's over. Well, I didn't. You didn't
No,
mention that
you
I mentioned
didn't say that.
screwdriver, DNA, all these other things. You never mentioned any of that.
She
So
said 5
no,
things.
you're actually incorrect there. But on top of that, moving over to the actual evidence itself.
Are you?
Yes, I'm okay. Anyway, back
I
to the
wasn't asked
evidence
if you're
itself.
okay.
Yes,
Actually,
I'm
I'm
fine.
glad you are
That
certain.
foot ain't
I
okay.
wasn't worried about your health. I'm
But
just saying
back to
that I
this.
just said you tweeted this. You said no, I didn't. We got to fact check, and now you're like just gonna gaslight me and pretend that I
There's
said
no gaslighting.
it
Yeah.
wasn't exhaustive. I never said that. I just said you did
There's
say this.
Zero gaslighting.
I didn't say you couldn't have said more,
Yeah.
but I would like to address what
I mean,
you
this
said
is
in
your
that tweet.
time. If this is how you want to spend it interrogating my position, you can do it that way.
I'm just addressing what you asserted on your Twitter was like the hard evidence that convinced you it was overwhelming. That's literally
That's
your
not
debate
what
claim.
you said. That's not actually, in fact, what happened in that exchange.
Yes, it was.
I was here for it.
So
I
what's your
was
position
too.
here?
Yeah, so my position is that based on all of the evidence, which has been demonstrated, at least all the evidence to my knowledge, that I am actually not seeing anything that's compelling as an alternative theory. I'm not seeing anything which is convincing me of something otherwise than what the state is presenting as evidence. That's my position. If
Okay.
that's what you're asking me.
So just going back to what you did actually tweet, is it fair for me to ask questions about that? That's
Is that the
evidence.
only tweet you're going to ask me about?
Well, we're addressing your claim that the evidence is overwhelming, and this is a tweet where you listed what you thought was overwhelming. I think that's fair.
but not
right? I feel like
sure,
that's fair.
but not exhaustive. Just so you know.
And I never said it was
Okay.
exhaustive.
Go ahead.
Like,
This is where I don't know if he's about to do it, but PBD should definitely step in right here and say, yes, you did
Bruh.
say, like, look at this tweet, Andrew, please explain your position on why these 5 things to you are overwhelming. Hopefully that's what he does. I don't know, but he's quiet right now.
He doesn't, and it's kind of weird, bro. I feel like we're like the same person because I told you I was on the live with Brandy and Didi and all them, and I was in their watch party, and I feel like at the exact same time I was like, this is where the moderator should step in and do his job.
Yes, 100%.
said I did.
Sure, whatever you want.
But yeah, so going back to that, all of that, as you say to me, well, Candace, why are you addressing and making inferences off of the testimony?
No, I never asked you why. You're making inferences. I asked you how, with the inference you made, you got to the conclusion.
Okay, so I would like to know how you got to the conclusion. And I'm just gonna throw it right back at you because
Yeah,
for some
that's
reason
fair.
you permit yourself to do it, and that's what I'm demonstrating is that you permit yourself to do it, and then you say when I do it, it's a conspiracy, right?
No.
How are you able to infer off of blurry staircase images that is Tyler Robinson?
Yeah. So in that particular case, what you do is you take that evidence, you combine it with other evidence. So it's not just that Tyler Robinson is seen in the staircase.
Why are you calling him Tyler Robinson in the staircase? That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, because I mean, we'll just use this. If you don't agree that that's Tyler Robinson, then you would just have to humor me. I think it is, so I'm using the name.
But why do you think it is? Because you make everybody, you
That's
call them
literally what I'm
conspiracy
trying to
theorists.
explain to you.
Okay.
So if you're asking for my inference, why I think it's Tyler Robinson is because Tyler Robinson said in his text messages, you'll be able to see me on security footage at the campus. Said it in his own messages. On top of that, Twigs, yes, you can pull them up if you want to fact check that. He did say.
He
Yeah,
did
I'm
say
gonna
that.
try. I actually think I really did miss that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I
Yeah.
don't remember him saying you're going to see me in.
I'm
footage.
paraphrasing,
Can
but
we
it was
pull that
close
up?
to
Yeah,
it.
If
I
you
know-
may
I
have
think
it.
that's
By the
not
way,
pull it up.
Twigs himself said that he
You're gonna
had
see me on
some
the staircase.
maybe a tiny bit of doubt, but it sure looked like Tyler Robinson inside of this various surveillance footage that he saw.
So Lance, sorry.
Hang
Go ahead. You're
on.
right.
So there's
I
more.
would have flipped it right back on him and used his own tactic and said, okay, so let's just say without those text messages, how can you come to the conclusion that's Tyler Robinson? You know what I mean? If you didn't have Tyler Robinson texting Lance Twigs, hey, I'm going to security camera, or Lance Twigs texting that, how could you come to the conclusion that that's Tyler Robinson if that's the only thing you're going to go
Yep.
off of?
There's multiple reasons why it is that I believe that that's Tyler Robinson, not just because of blurry footage.
Did you have a dream? Just kidding.
No, it's because I combined multitudes of evidences.
So let's address those multitude of evidences. The first one we're working on a fact check on because I do not ever remember him tweeting. That's me in the staircase. I mean, or texting that's me in the staircase. I think that I didn't say that. I said I literally didn't. What I said is that he texted over, "You'll be able to see me in footage at UVU," and I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. Yeah, could we get a fact check on that? The second thing you said was Lance's testimony, and actually what Lance says is, "I'm not 100%."
I agree.
But in terms of what he wears, again, pointing out the absurdity, he wears Converses. He wears sneakers. If his boyfriend is not 100%, I'd like to understand why Andrew Wilson is overwhelmed by it. That's what I'm trying to get to. And lastly, I would like to remind you that Lance's statement would not be permitted. This was a huge part of the preliminary hearing, that they were leading. All the questions that were asked of him were leading, so they would be struck down at the actual trial. And also, I would like to remind you that he got use immunity for that. Use immunity.
I understand.
Which means that
happens, by the way, all the time in these cases.
I'm wondering why it particularly happened for Lance in this testimony. And I would also like to point out that something that's remarkable about this, again, leaning to my perspective, that Lance has a lot more, which I have said many times, Lance has a lot more involvement than the feds are letting us know. I think more is going to come out because they interviewed him on September 11th. And then for whatever reason, just ahead of what was supposed to be slated as the preliminary hearing, which was initially supposed to be in May, they bring him back to do this interview, which in my opinion should have never been allowed. And I actually agree with the defense that it's a violation of his constitutional rights not to allow them to have cross-examined him. But I understand Utah 1102, do what you do. It's all hearsay. But to allow it in that way for him to just be able to also have use immunity, knowing that he's not going to get in trouble. He could literally get up there and lie about anything and he's not going to get in trouble because the use immunity was given to him in April, I believe. April 28th is when they gave that testimony to the defense. I think they shot it in like April 20th of 2026. That is not compelling to me for somebody who has use immunity to give a testimony and to say, I'm not really sure, but definitely like he wears jeans and stuff.
That's not what he said.
He did. Actually, you can get a fact check on that.
Yeah, Skyler, I think he said much more than that. So a couple things we have. We have Rule 801, Tyler's messages, that says it's not hearsay. But first, go to what Candace is asking about. Skyler, I think you have it. You just text me if you want to pull it up. You said you have the text. If we can put that up on the screen. Thank you.
It was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. Okay. I literally said to you, it's not an oof. I said I didn't remember this. And I'm happy to have a fact check on that.
I didn't know this either.
I didn't call for the fact check saying you're wrong. I literally said I don't remember that.
Well, I'm just saying to you, like, I'm trying to be concise for you.
And then also bring the 801 that you just said. What was the other one?
Yep. The 801. Tyler messages saying it's not hearsay. If you have that as well. There you go.
Wait, what are we saying? It's not hearsay.
Statements that are not hearsay. A statement that meets the following conditions is not hearsay.
It was hearsay. They said it in the trial.
Hang on.
Okay.
Is consistent with the declarant's testimony and the declarant denies having made the statement or has forgotten, or is consistent with the declarant's testimony and is offered to rebut the express implied charge that the declarant recently fabricated or acted in recent improper influence or motive in testifying. So then, wouldn't that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the issue with his
I just want to make sure. Yeah. Would that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the opposing party, which down the line, like I said, they talked about this for about an hour and a half, and they discussed how if Lance was in court and he was giving his first party, giving his testimony as the opposing party, whatever, all this would be fine. They had an issue with how the questions were being asked and that they were not allowed to cross-examine him. So that is why his video testimony would not be accepted in the main trial. And what I said to you is this entire preliminary hearing is under Utah's 1102. So they are allowed to just use hearsay. And
no,
so
you didn't say that. You said most of it was hearsay, actually.
Yeah,
the overwhelming majority.
Well, I mean, and that's I'm leaning now into my opinion that some scientific aspects, which they kept asserting, like the federal rule 403 or 402, some of those parts were quite scientific.
Sound like you're backtracking quite a bit.
No, I'm not backtracking at all. What do you feel like let me help you. Where do you feel like I'm backtracking? It literally was done under Utah's 1102.
Yeah, nobody disputed that. Okay. What the dispute was is whether or not most of it was overwhelmingly hearsay.
Yes,
is that the case?
It was. Yes, that's a fact. I'm not backtracking on that at all.
The things
how many times did you, if you watch the preliminary hearing, it's like they constantly, I'm 1102, 1102, 1102, 1102, 1102. And the reason for that is because it's allowed. I'm not saying it's illegal. It's allowed at this stage, but I'm just reminding you that when you're going to sit across from someone and your claim is going to be, where is your hard evidence? This is what I heard and I agree with what I'm watching. You are watching the state put on a hearsay preliminary hearing, and all of those things are not going to be allowed, right? Even when they got into witness statements and things of that nature, there's a reason why they swear you in and they say you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. Did you, write this statement? So it's overwhelming majority of what you saw was hearsay because other people were representing other people's statements. They were saying they had conversations. We don't know where it came from, all allowed at this stage. Okay. But it's hearsay. So
but even a lot of that stuff may not fall under hearsay under what we just read, right?
But the evidence that you're speaking about, like when you say that we're going off vibes, you don't know Tyler Robinson. Okay. His boyfriend is not 100% it was him. So I'm going back to your points that you made that this was overwhelming evidence for you. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, overwhelming just means
you can't consider another option that there could have been another white guy wearing Converses on campus.
Yeah, do you agree with me that I said that what overwhelming means to me is that it's just very convincing to me?
Yeah, and I find it to be completely unconvincing.
And that's fair.
Because
I understand that
I looked at those blurry photos that they presented and said, your statement on right now is that he's wearing Converses and he also that's just crazy.
But these aren't the evidences that I find the most convincing.
Well, you said that in your Twitter.
I'm sorry. Fair use pause right here. I'm sorry, but I don't understand how anybody can't see the bigger distraction here. The guy does not care about this debate. He's sitting here talking about overwhelming to me means convinced. What? He barely knows what happened in the prelim. He doesn't know anything. He's there. And then I don't know if you peeped earlier. He said, I don't know if you want to spend your time attacking his position or something like that, but he was like, it's your time if you want to spend this whole time attacking my position. And it's like, that was an odd comment. You know what I mean? I let it slide. But
and he kind of doubles down on it later. It almost like he had a plan in his mind of breaking the debate in like 2 segments. Right. And the first segment was going to be what the debate's actually about, which is him claiming that there's overwhelming evidence against Tyler versus Candace saying the opposite. And then the second half, he was just going to bring up all the things that he wanted to grill her on. And you could tell like that was his intent the entire time.
Yeah. This is, he doesn't care. He's just sitting there because whoever told him to do this, he's just doing what they told him to.
That's not the only thing I've ever said on my Twitter about this case.
Right, but the question that was asked of you was pretty direct. Yeah. Right? What did you find
this is not an exhaustive list of all the things that I find
that's not what you said
convincing.
In the tweet. You can tweet longer too. It's not like we're limited now to 240 characters anymore.
So anything that I tweet and all other tweets that I've ever made are now excluded because I used the word overwhelming in this one.
Well,
even though all of this information I've said so publicly over and over and over again is what informs my position for why I'm convinced on the case. That's bizarre to me.
I feel like this is Andrew versus Andrew. Somebody asked you a question. What are the points that you find to be the most overwhelming? And you answered.
You mean from that particular day of the hearing that I was responding to?
Is this something you find to be more overwhelming? Let me answer that question.
Yes,
okay. What do you?
Saying,
okay, go on. What do you find to be more overwhelming?
Yeah.
Can we do this? Do we want to get into it, or do we want to do a quick ad break? Are you guys good to keep going, or
I'm fine to keep going, but we can also.
Would you like to take a quick break?
Doesn't matter to me either
way.
If
we're going into a different topic, that may be another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I don't want to stop you guys in the middle of it.
Let's end it on what you find to be more overwhelming.
Yeah. So if for me, it's the confessions, the text messages, all of that is what I consider to be. From my opinion, that's the most convincing for me.
Okay, we should discuss the text message confessions when we get back, if you'd like to.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Folks, we're going to take a quick ad break. We will be back in 3.5 minutes. Thank you.
Boy, these folks making money. Ad breaks and commercials?
Man. Somebody was actually it was Didi, bro. He was talking about it. They were talking about it on the after party with Brandy and them. He was like, you know how much money, like think about how much money they don't have to spend compared to like a Super Bowl ad or a TV ad with all the eyes that they're getting on this debate. Candace had, I think somebody said she had 5 million views in the first 5 minutes once this was done and it was posted.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, that's why, like, this whole distraction thing and everybody's making money. They all went live from their pages, PBD, Andrew Wilson.
Everybody.
And again, like we said it yesterday, this is no knock because Candace is providing content for everybody eating.
Cheers.
But it's like, dog, it gets to a point, bro. The ads, commercials, I'm sure the supers going stupid. Like,
oh yeah. She already made a couple hundred before the show even start on her supers.
Right. And the fact that he is not showcasing a great performance, you know what I mean? That's kind of the biggest thing for me. Candace is gonna do what Candace does, you know what I mean? But he's not. This is nothing from him so far. It could change, but like this is some BS right now from Andrew Wilson. He's literally proving what we've been talking about already, that he does not care about what happened to Charlie. He doesn't care about all the different things that's going around it. He just attention.
Yep.
Kits are available.
By the way, just an FYI for those of you that are watching The Crucible, there's
FYI.
30,000 concurrent there watching. Support Andrew Wilson. That's your fans of his. Click that subscribe button and helps him grow. We like this. The main troll it back into the text conversation you were having, right?
Okay.
Let's stay, and then we'll go into the cross-examination stuff in about 30 minutes.
Okay, that sounds fair. Okay, so yeah, I used basically 3 pillars for the totality of the evidence. Okay, so if you want to know exactly what those 3 pillars are, this is going to be the testimony with the text messages and the confessions. This is going to be the physical evidence, and this is going to be the totality of the summary of the case. Okay, so right now we're focusing on one of these pillars in my defense, which is fine. I understand that I have to defend my claims as well. So when we're talking about the messages themselves, they seem totally valid. I have no idea why they wouldn't be valid. And I have not heard any good explanation for why it is that these messages should even be questioned. The defense hasn't questioned them, as far as I'm aware. Nobody has actually questioned that these messages came from Robinson to date, except perhaps you and other people who are kind of in that camp. Or why should I question these exactly? I'm not sure.
Okay, so first let's just go over legally what the point is of a probative hearing. The defense is not they're not there to say or to argue or to defend themselves at all. They have to address what is being presented by the state. Okay, so they're not here to then say, let me give you an explanation for these text messages.
Agreed.
The relevant portion of what the defense did do was actually before we got to the preliminary hearing. I had mentioned that it was initially supposed to be scheduled for sometime in May. They asked for an extension. That reading through those filings of why they were requesting an extension and why I actually believe their extension should have been granted, because they did not receive discovery on their text messages. That was one of the reasons. There were many reasons why they wanted to have an extension, but this was crucial, right? So forget just the general sense that these messages feel off. And yes, you are allowed to have an intuition. You are allowed to have a sense and just go, this is very weird. We're being told this kid had like above a 4.0, Tyler Robinson. He wanted to get away. I mean, the text messages almost run head to head with themselves. Like he wanted to get away with it. So he thought the best thing to do would be to text a full confession of what he did, down to what I didn't even remember, saying, yeah, and that's also me in the surveillance footage. It felt a little too on the nose. People have common sense. You just don't text message. But then we're also supposed to believe that he put a note under and burn this and get rid of the evidence. But don't worry about that because I'm about to text you a full confession. That it felt off. It felt weird off the bat. The manner in which they were texting, we're told he's like a gamer who's using a Dremel to carve expressions, catch fascist. But then suddenly he's writing like a 1700
also, as a Helldivers
novelist.
player, he did actually get the 500K code correct.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer, so we'll say that. We start debating that, you'll be way over my head.
But yes,
but my point being is just that first, it's a general sense of why people had a reaction to these messages that seemed like they were written by Jane Austen rather than like a kid who games and writes. That is, I just said that. I said just parking aside the intuition of just something feels wrong here, which you should follow your intuition. You should actually do that. If you say the COVID vaccine is running out, feels like it's coming out too fast, and there's too many celebrities telling me to do it, I'd like to take a pause. That's good. You are allowed to do that. I believe in intuition.
But hang on. Let me respond a little bit here because you've been going for a minute. Let me at least respond to a little bit of this. So the first thing is like when people bring up the COVID vaccine, not trusting the COVID vaccine en masse was the science. That wasn't just intuition. That was the science. There was tons of competing science. Now they tried to suppress it. That's true. But there was tons of competing science for why you shouldn't take a risky mRNA vaccine and masks and things like this.
Kept telling us was
now, when you're talking about intuition, though, when you say trust your intuition, I'm actually giving a different message. You actually should be very wary about trusting just your intuition. It is true that intuition can be useful, but it has to be tempered with logic, reason, explanatory power, and evidence, not just intuition.
That's why we're part of
this manipulation right here, because I'm just not buying anything he said. Like the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, I'm like,
that was just straight cat what he just said.
Intuition first step. Something feels off, right?
Okay.
That was my first step with COVID. I don't like the way it's being pushed.
He said, my fault. He said the science pointed to questioning the vaccine, but I'm like, dog, you would get fired if you didn't take the vaccine. So what do you mean that how are you? I don't know, for this.
Not like I get where he's coming from, but it's apples to oranges for that very reason.
Right.
It's like people were coerced into getting the vaccine. It's different.
Require a celebrity campaign, by the way. Another element of that is why people don't feel good about the Charlie thing. Why do we have so many influencers saying things? It's over. Why are you guys all using the same adjective? Can you switch it up? I'm overwhelmed. Like, chill. Like, you could say, I found some
kind
parts compelling. I think this should go.
Like
I found some parts compelling. Maybe we should, see at the trial. That would be
Don't you think Fed slop's a buzzword for the counter industry?
But everyone on the same day of watching this trial, which was I would say not overwhelming at all. Nobody came in medium, right? No one came in like there were some interesting aspects. This was a little suspect. But I do think it's enough to go to trial. They all came in like they were passing away and we're going to die from being
Well, they're
overwhelmed.
trusting their intuition.
Okay, well, actually, in that scenario, they're looking at the preliminary hearing and have a reaction to it. It wasn't their intuition. But like I said,
how do you know
parking
that?
aside, just getting to the substance, parking that aside, parking aside, just your general intuition, some of the time might be text messages. Then we look at the filings, which came from the defense, and they were requesting an extension saying, we have gone to the prosecution and we have requested all of this stuff in discovery. Yes, you are saying that you took Lance's phone, okay, and that you collected his phone on September 11th and that you sent it off or whatever. You took a picture of the text messages and we are being given these text messages to review. Crucially, Kathy Nestor said, I have not even been given access to my client's phone during this hearing. She said, I haven't even given access to my client's phone. She can't tell you, as a part of the discovery request, is it's not enough to say to me, Candace, I just got a text message from Candace. And I say, I didn't send that text message. Maybe that's what her client's saying. We don't know because we're not at the trial, right? Maybe he didn't send those messages. Could there be someone who logged into his Discord? Could there be someone who logged in to his Apple? George could be sending text messages right now. We are married. He has every login that I have. And remember, he's up for a death sentence. So if I'm able to sow reasonable doubt with common sense, he may come during the trial and when they actually have to address these points, say, I did not write those messages. I was here. Lance, my boyfriend, was logged into my phone, logged into my Apple ID and my iCloud sending messages. I know that we have the capability because my husband does it. He has the capability to send messages from my phone. It is not convincing to the public when, for whatever reason, the FBI would not, FBI combined with the SBI, it was not the prosecution's fault. They made that clear during that hearing, would not allow them that discovery request to be able to see where did that message come from? Because you're saying my client was here, right? I want to know if that message actually was generated from his iPhone when he was waiting to retrieve his, rifle, hoping that the pooch doesn't have a bad sniffer, like just weird messages. I want to make sure that, yes, it was actually him. He was holding his phone and his boyfriend didn't just log in to his computer when he was home. Lance was his boyfriend. That is a crucial fact here. That discovery was not met by the time I got to preliminary hearing. So I remain unconvinced by these text messages. Just as you feel convinced by them, I feel unconvinced by them.
Okay. So then the idea here is the reason that you don't think that these are valid text messages, and you don't, right?
It has not been proven that these messages are valid. They don't sound valid to me. I don't think anyone, even if someone was selling like a, I don't know, pot on the corner, would be smarter than to write a full-fledged confession. He even writes, I thought I would get away with it, and I was hoping never to tell you until old age. And then we're being told that he wanted to commit suicide. And okay, but he just said he wanted to get away with it, but he's not smart enough to, I don't know, maybe not text it's such a confession like we've never seen. I think this would be like the first time ever somebody has start to finish written an entire, I'm in the surveillance footage and I'm here and I'm wearing my Converse, I'm being a little facetious here, but it was your ridiculous. It didn't pass the sniff test for me.
You have kids. And you love them more than anything.
I do.
If it was the case that you thought that your kid was innocent, wouldn't you be out telling everybody and their brother that you thought that they were innocent? And also,
that might be his best point so far. All right, we're gonna see what he said.
So wouldn't you maybe recant and say, hey, he didn't actually confess to me. None of this happened the way that the state is presenting it. What would have prevented the parents from testifying?
Well, two things I can answer that. And if you watch my show, I keep telling you it's not vibes. So right after the shooting happened, Lance Twiggs, the FBI put him into a safe house they paid for. They went to the parents as well, to Matt Robinson and Amber, basically said, your life's at risk. There could be somebody who jumps up and wants to avenge Charlie Kirk. And, we're going to watch you. And they went into a federal safe house. What happens next is that they started thinking that the feds were maybe going to, maybe not as honest as they thought. And
how do you know any of that?
You gotta watch the show, right?
Yeah, no. How do you know that?
I had a source within the Robinson family.
You have a source, an anonymous source, of course. So there's no way for us to verify that what you're saying right now is actually even true.
Yeah,
it to be reliable
no, I don't find it to be reliable at all. It's just a source.
I'm just doing what the prosecution.
What you're doing is a cool story.
It's not cool. Well, you must have hated watching the preliminary hearing.
You're giving us a cool story. You're saying that according to your sources, that the reason that the parents haven't recanted any of this.
Recanted what? They have no statement from the parents.
Wait, I just want to make sure that if it was the case, it was being reported in mainstream media that your father came to you and said, hey, is this you? What's going on here? And then he and one of his buddies took you in where you turned yourself in. You wouldn't go out and be like, no, that's not what happened.
That isn't what happened, though. You're just wrong on this.
Okay, maybe I'm paraphrasing. What am I wrong on?
So what is sorry, just so I'm clear, where is your evidence that the parents turned him in?
Well, no, I didn't say that.
You said there's a mainstream media?
I said with a sheriff friend.
Yes.
But the father did confront him.
The father confronted what?
Tyler Robinson.
And where did you learn this? That the Tyler
Well, I mean, that's
confronted
part
him?
of the official documents. Our fact checkers can pull that up. But yes.
But I'm saying, when you say official documents, do you mean you saw this on CNN or you saw this play out in the hearing?
No, this was one of the things that I went through in fact check pre-debate.
Are you talking about like the charging documents?
I think it was it could have been in the charging documents, but I do. We can pull them up.
No.
And yes, are you disputing this?
Do we have that in the back to pull it up?
I can already tell you what you're talking about, the charging documents, because this is where we had to figure out where this story came from, because everyone was operating under the assumption that Matt Robinson turned him in. Until we got to the preliminary hearing and we understood, like I said, even for that, when you are charging someone, you can use hearsay. It's all probative, right?
Sure.
Nothing. So they didn't have statements. It's not like Matt Robinson, even though he was interviewed that night. Amber Robinson was interviewed that night by a Fed, separate rooms. Tyler Robinson was interviewed by a Fed. They did not produce statements saying, my son did this. I believe my son did this. But what happened was they did interviews, but also the crucial person here who you just brought up is Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell is the biggest unknown in this entire case. Everyone keeps saying they heard from Mike Mitchell this, they heard from Mike Mitchell that. So when the person wrote up the report that night, and it was Brian Davis who wrote up what became the charging document, he after they transported Tyler Robinson from the Washington Sheriff's County office up to, I think it's Salt Lake City. I think it was 4 a.m. in the morning that they got up there. He then writes the what becomes a charging document. So he's basically saying, we all spoke to a bunch of people and here's the information that we got, right? We've not seen that. So it could have come from Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell could be saying,
I don't know how this negates the point, though. Why
it
wouldn't
truly
the
negates
parents?
the point, because you don't have a statement from the parents.
Yeah,
you are going.
Why wouldn't they just correct the
it's not correcting. That doesn't negate the point. The point is that we now got the preliminary hearing. If the parents were the ones who said, I'm turning my son in because he's guilty.
I didn't say they turned him in.
I think you're talking about the over. You said it's been the narrative. Everybody's known this. The narrative initially, which I think you agree with, was that, Matt Robinson knew his kid was guilty and turned him into the police station. What actually happened in terms of Sheriff Brooksby, who was present there and gave a press conference, what happened was this Mike Mitchell character essentially peer pressured him. And we can get a fact check on this. We can find Sheriff Brooksby's press conference. And he said, they know it's you and you're going to come in peaceably, or people are going to be banging down your door. He was a undercover cop, which I don't like that. I don't know what he did undercover. It's very hard to find anything about Mike Mitchell, but he worked with them for 20 plus years, the police officers. The reason why Tyler Robinson knew him was because he lived nearby and he was also his Boy Scout leader.
How does this negate that the parents could write this second? And by the way, if you had the evidence,
address that point. I'm just saying that your first point, which is that the parents did this.
Yeah.
We don't know that the parents.
I didn't say that they did ever.
Well, you're quoting the parents as having said. You said that Matt Robinson said that his kid was. Did you say involved? I don't want to misquote you.
Confronted him about it.
Confronted him.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that we have not seen any evidence that is true.
We can fact check that.
Okay.
Because we do have evidence.
And I'm saying it's the charging doc, which could have been derived from a statement Mike Mitchell said.
Two things I have ready in the back. One is the charging document. The other one is a video of Kathy Nestor saying she hasn't seen Tyler's phone.
Okay, we can run Kathy to go back, and then just to go backwards to Kathy first in court saying she didn't get her client's phone. Yeah, and then I think we'll go to the. If you're okay with that
thing, not in dispute. These are all things that are not even disputing.
Okay, so we don't show it.
We never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text messages. Some of the.
No, his foot, bro. His foot.
You felt was concrete. You were.
Foot going crazy.
Okay, so we don't show it.
We never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text messages. Something that you felt was concrete. So it was just my rebuttal to you that it's not concrete because they haven't had a chance to actually answer that, and she didn't even get to see your client's phone. So that's effectively, again, the state saying these messages are real. You don't get the discovery on these messages just yet. She will during trial. They will actually get discovery
messages. Don't you think that would make their case fall apart if it was the case that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text messages? Do you think the prosecution would go to court with fabricated text messages?
It's called winners and losers. They may not be fabricated, but by the way, as what they are saying, like I said, if there was somebody logged into his phone, they may not be fabricated. That's the point.
So let's get to the parents fact check.
Yes, so I was saying, I believe what you're talking about was derived from the charging document
pause real quick, Jay?
by Brian Davis. Let's see if that's correct.
Pause real quick. I just wanted to bring up the text message thing because I'm curious if the chat knows if Lance Twiggs also had an iPhone, because her point about the text messages is spot on. As I mentioned to you, I work at Apple. So the thing with the text messages that's interesting is we need to know what device they came from, because to her point, if Lance logged into Tyler's iCloud from a computer per se, you could have sent those text messages and they would fall right in line in the message thread. And the only way to know where they came from is to see them from the device because they're encrypted. So there's no way, like when the attorney's arguing that she hasn't even seen Tyler's phone, that's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and I think Lance does have an iPhone because they took a picture of his phone of the
That's right.
screenshots and stuff like that.
With the time broken at the top left
Yes.
conveniently.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's
What are we
that's a big
looking at
part.
here?
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, I'm sorry.
Can you zoom in a
Is
little
this
bit?
the charging
I
doc?
can't see it. Robinson's
yes.
father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched the rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle, which makes sense with the text messages.
Mhm.
Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home.
Yes. So this is proving my point. This is from the charging document, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is that 3 people got interviewed on that night. Mike Mitchell got interviewed,
Yeah.
Amber Robinson got interviewed, and Matt Robinson got interviewed. Of the 3 of them, only one of them actually wrote a statement, which was referred to in this preliminary trial. He came in, I believe, in March, Mike Mitchell, and he wrote a statement, which I find to be very shady that they
Got
decided to
it. But
bring.
why aren't the parents disputing
No,
that?
no, well, first off,
That's the question I've been
the
asking.
parents are not going to ever play in court, play to the cameras in court when they have a legal team that is going to be advising them not to speak to the court because your son could go to prison
But they're
forever.
playing to somebody else who's your source?
I'm not going to address that.
They're
because
playing to
I don't-
someone
I
else
don't
who's your
think- I don't
source,
think
but
it's-
won't go publicly tell the
If-
media
yes.
this is not true?
Well, what I did not say to you.
To be fair, I understand what he's saying. Now, I think somebody said
Mhm.
gag order and all of that, potentially. But my biggest thing is, to Andrew's point, is that if Candace and whoever else is publicly saying that the source is coming from Tyler Robinson's family, they still could get in trouble for that. So it's not like it's a secret. She's saying that there is a source in the Robinson family that would still get them in trouble, versus like just coming out and that still violates the gag order if you got people publicly
Yes.
saying that a source is coming from the Robinson family. So I understand what Andrew's point is right here.
That
Yeah,
I just said
definitely.
I have a source, so I want to be very clear and take it from somebody who was involved and permanently sued. When I have to take my lawyer's advice, I mean, there's so many things that I want to respond to when people are speaking about.
Yeah, but it's bizarre that they would utilize a source which would get the information to you, but wouldn't just go to the media and be like, actually, that's all wrong.
I am telling you that if you would nary find a lawyer who would advise you to go to the media.
Oh,
and speak.
this mother.
Especially when your son
If
is
I
up
thought
for,
that my
is-
kid-
was up for death.
If I thought that my kid was in any way, shape, or form going to be up, you couldn't shut me up.
What?
Or my wife, she would be like, that's not true. That's ridiculous. There's no possible. That never happened. These people are lying through their teeth. They'd be public whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that's for you and your wife. But when a judge issues a gag order in a case and your son is up for death, and your lawyers could be advising you that if you say anything, you could blow the case, you would have a more responsible consideration.
I see.
And we're speaking opinion here. You're like, well, I wouldn't care. I'd violate it, and I'd violate the judge's orders and see
But
what would happen.
if you have a
I'm
source,
not-
it seems like
I'm
they're
not-
violating it with them.
I'm not speaking to a source, but
And again, to be fair, I've heard it from Brandy and Billy as well, saying that they've spoken to the Robinson family when they've gone to the courthouse, and they do not think that he did it. And like, they've been talking, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I understand what he's saying on this one part.
I'm saying to you is speaking just relevant to what this is. We have not seen any proof that that statement that is included in this charging document. I think it is highly likely on the basis of the preliminary hearing that all came from Mike Mitchell, and Mike Mitchell would be a part. He's
Based
saying,
on the statements of
it's him
parents.
saying the parents told me this. The parents could dispute that. That's going to come down the line, right? They're going to be able to see the parents. I will say this, putting together context clues. If the state had it on, 100% certainty that Matt Robinson and Amber Robinson said it, a 5-day preliminary hearing would be a good time to say we have enough evidence. And I can tell you why Matt Robinson made this statement, and here is his statement that he signed. That would have been a good time to present that evidence.
That
and
would
the
also
public
be a
on your
good
side.
time for the defense to say that's just totally
No,
fabricated.
it's not. It's the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
That is completely the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
Because what they're doing is they already said they didn't receive discovery. They literally can't. They literally can't because they can't. They did not
You're
receive
saying that they
discovery.
didn't receive that information?
No, they just received the text messages. But in order to
That's not the text messages.
the probative information,
Yeah, we're talking about the information that we just reviewed. That's not the text
They
they
messages.
never presented it. The state never put it on.
Yeah, they didn't. The defense could easily still have presented this. Yeah,
No.
they could have said they're
No,
they're not allowed to. Are
no,
you sure?
in a preliminary hearing,
Yeah.
the defense is engaging with whatever evidence the state decides to put on. They did not put this on as evidence. Brian Davis was up there.
So they're not allowed to present anything.
They're responding to the state's
I'm
evidence.
asking, are they allowed to present anything?
They are allowed to say,
like if there was a conspiracy that they could prove right then and there, would they present that in one of these hearings?
no, it wouldn't be the right time for that.
I disagree. I think
It's
that
not
they,
disagreement.
I think that they not only could do it, but they would do it. In fact, when I talked in depth with my attorney, they said that's exactly, if you had actual evidence that there was fabrications by the feds, that's exactly when you would introduce that.
So when in the document
This
that they
is to the point that we was talking about last night. Like, you know, I wouldn't have my client in jail another day if I could prove that he wasn't even on campus, or if all of y'all are lying about text messages, this, that, and the third. So to his point right here, I understand what he's saying.
Yep, I agree with him.
they filed yesterday or a couple of days ago, the appropriate, like what you're doing at this stage of the hearing is the state is saying we have enough evidence that we think this needs to go forth to trial. Hence the reason that there's this extraordinary, we allow hearsay because it doesn't really need to be perfect. It can be enough that we feel like we can move forward, right? And okay, I disagree with that in general when somebody's rotting in prison, but whatever. The next phase is for them to meet in court and for the defense to essentially present an argument to the state that says, we find this filing to be defective in and of itself. We don't even have to defend ourselves because you, the state, have enough, you know what the laws are on the books, and this filing is defective and you should get rid of these charges because they don't make sense based on what you can decide based on the law on the books. So then that's why they then file the dismissal, right? So in the dismissal, what they're doing is they are engaging, and this is what was widely misinterpreted.
Well, yeah, they're engaging as though, as it's a hypothetical. If this is hypothetically true, then
so
X.
they're saying all of these
but
charges.
I'm not disputing any of that.
So that's what you're asking why you're saying, could they just
what
put
I'm
out-
asking specifically is like, who could shut parents up who are like, no way, there's no possible, this never happened, this is ridiculous. They would be shouting it on CNN. They would be shouting it from the rooftops. They would be losing their minds. And you're like, nope, the gag order would be enough to keep them quiet. Not enough for them to talk to your source, but enough to keep them quiet. I think that's quite ridiculous. But I'll even concede this whole point to you. Let's just say maybe this was misconstrued, right? There's a little bit of reason to doubt it because we're still waiting for the evidence for trial. If that's the case, then why not take the same standard for the evidence that you present? You're just waiting for trial.
Well, you didn't do that.
Wait a second.
We're here.
Wait a second. I just want to make sure that I got this right. That's your argument to me, right?
My argument to you is what?
Your argument to me is that, hey, wait a second, Andrew. There's not enough here that convinces me, right?
Well, that's actually my rebuttal to you, is that you are saying, why are people engaging in what you term to be conspiracy theories?
No.
I term it to be thinking. They're just thinking because they're recognizing there are a lot of holes in these stories and that this is not strong evidence, right? This is the reason they're doing it. I'm explaining to you, this is the reason that they're doing it. I'm addressing what you view to be overwhelming evidence. And by the way, I want to be clear.
That which convinces me.
But thus far, every point that you've brought up, did you feel like this is beyond a reasonable doubt? I mean, you realize
remember what I said in my opening.
Going to be
it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just what I find convincing is what I find overwhelming.
So why are you so upset when people say they don't find it convincing?
If that was the limitation of the claims that you made, if it was just, wait a second, there's a little bit of problems. There's some problems in this case that I have questions for that I want answers to. Nobody would have a problem, actually. At least of all me. I would be the least likely person to have an issue with it, you, any of your fans, anybody saying. In fact, I've had tons of Discord calls about this. My position's always been clear. Of course, conspiracies exist. Some of them have way better evidence than others, but I've seen them myself. I know conspiracy. In fact, the federal government has hundreds of thousands of laws about conspiracies. They see them everywhere. We both know this, right? That's never what the problem is. The problem is when you make claims outside of, well, wait a second. I'm just questioning evidence here. I'm just questioning what the state's case is here. I'm just asking questions. It's when you make claims outside of that, where you claim that there's good evidence or good standards you should believe because, and then it turns out that it's all nonsense or it's wackadoo stuff or it makes no sense. And when we have a chance to cross-examine your evidence that you've presented, I'm going to show a lot of that. A lot of this conjecture that's based on literally nothing, that leads from no inferences whatsoever. Like you couldn't even infer it logically. That's the problem. The problem has never been whether or not you just said, there's not enough in this case so far until we get to the trial. I remain unconvinced. I'm sure there's tons of people who remain unconvinced yet until we get to the trial. I think that's fine. I think it's fine. There's people who are convinced too. That's never been my problem. My problem is the claims which are external to that.
Okay. I'm not sure I really care if you have a problem with what I think in my own spare time. I don't understand this like lecture that you just gave. But beyond that, what I'm saying is that the state is allowed to use. This is what my problem is. You guys are not like, you guys think while it's still legal. You can. You are allowed to do that. So, but anyway, going back to you saying I wouldn't have a
fair use right here. I agree with you, Elena. We've been saying that before this debate. even started leading up to it for the whole week. This is not going to move the needle forward in the investigation. Like, obviously, Candace is going to probably win as far as getting her points off, but there's Andrew and whoever his side is not going to leave from here saying, you know what, Candace has some great points that we need to start considering. That's just
right.
That's not going to happen. You don't even see, it's been an hour and 20 minutes and Andrew hasn't done that one time. So like, no, there's not going to be Candace won, or they're going to say that on X, but not to the magnitude or to the significance that it should have been, which is like moving the case forward, moving that forward, pursuing
the
truth.
people who thought Andrew was going to win. Yeah, the people who thought Andrew was going to win, they'll keep saying that. The people who thought Candace was going to win, they'll keep saying that. But what I do find interesting, I don't know if you saw this, PBD had a poll on his page, and to my knowledge, PBD is more on Andrew's side than he is on Candace's side. His poll was 43% Andrew, 35% Candace, which I thought was interesting. Yeah.
I gotta go check it out.
Problem. I think that just demonstrated pretty thoroughly that what you claim that you have a problem with is exactly what the state is engaged in at this stage. So it just doesn't make sense.
That's not the case. In fact,
so if people look and they say, I'm looking at the gun and I see and I'm inferring this, and someone else says, I'm looking at the gun evidence and I'm inferring that, they're both doing the exact same thing.
They're not.
You're just saying, I want to do it for the state.
That's propositionally false.
That is not propositionally false.
I'll explain exactly how. It is the case that every proposition is going to have a true or false conclusion, period. That's just logic, right? It's the law of excluded middle. All propositions are going to be true or they're going to be false. When we're making inferences, we're making inferences based on propositions. We can actually come to true conclusions with false premises inside of a proposition. In fact, what we're talking about here is not whether or not you feel that you're convinced by this evidence.
But you felt like you were convinced.
Right? Sure. But here's the thing. When you ask me my reason, Andrew, why are you convinced by this? I can give you my reasons why I'm convinced by it, why it seems reasonable and rational to me to be convinced. You could even say, but Andrew, I'm just not convinced by it. If that was the limitation of your claims, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. That's why I wanted to have the conversation, in fact, was so that we could move into your actual claims that you've made, which transcend the idea of I'm just asking questions.
Before we get into that, your team has one thing they want to show before you go into that. So if you want to pull that up, this is the prosecution filing showing defense had full discovery by April 1st.
Ooh. They did not. That's not true.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
To date, the state's prosecutors have disclosed all evidence that is presently and reasonably available to them as required under Rule 16, Utah R Criminal, to be more precise, as of April 1st.
Yeah, that was not 100%. That's why they're caging that by saying what's reasonable. There was an entire, and we can pull this up. Like, we should now play the Kathy Nestor clip because that's from there. So, and they were basically saying you don't need it at this stage, meaning it's not reasonable that you're asking for this when we're going into a hearing that's just going to be based on hearsay and stuff, things of that nature. But of course, by the time a trial comes, you're going to get all of the discovery documents.
Where's the show cause?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. So that's
I'm even fine with it.
Yeah, we all know. And then, by the way, just now that the hearing is over, and you can also fact check this, they now at the end of the preliminary hearing dropped like an insane amount of the discovery stuff they gave to them like the week after. You guys can give me the exact amount. I don't want to say because I don't know my I don't remember how much it was. It was an absurd amount of stuff that they gave to them right after the preliminary hearing that they had been asking for. Because that was one of the things that I kept saying on my show is as we were watching that preliminary of the preliminary, why not just give them the stuff now so they can engage in these arguments? Because I feel like it's like, I want to hear what they have to say about the text messages. Why can't you just give them what they're asking for so that they can actually engage you? And it didn't happen. So, but the judge ruled that it wasn't necessary at this stage. And that was the whole point of that
because it's
preliminary to the preliminary. Yeah.
Would you like to play the Kathy video?
Well, he's saying he's not disagreeing, so I don't think we need to.
There's no disagreement that she said that.
Yeah.
So so I guess the disagreements now would move into the evidences that you have stated on the record, which transcend elements of reason.
Why are we having a transcendental conversation now? Because your entire thing was about looking at the evidence, which never made sense to me, again, because all of the evidence that you felt to be overwhelming was hearsay. That was bizarre to me.
You told me that I could take as much time as I wanted to question you on these things.
I'm just asking you just to lay the groundwork of what you're saying is problematic, that you decide that it trips into something else. And I do still want to hold you for going through, because we've discussed the gun, we've discussed your
you can hold me to those things, but I would like to get into the things that you said.
The screwdriver as well.
So, and I'll explain exactly what the groundwork is. When you make claims which pass the idea of I'm just asking questions because the state's evidence is not convincing, I think you have to answer for those claims because they are in regards to this case. You're saying I have a claim. It is in regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is what we're talking about. Not just the case of Charlie Kirk, his assassination. You should have to answer for the claims that you've made in regards to the assassination itself. You should. Yeah, agreed. So if that's the case, then I would like to finally dive into some of that evidence and dive into it.
Well, just to be clear,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to have you
This is
talk
why
about,
he's
like I
here.
said publicly, you want to engage in some conspiracies, but I said I want to make sure that we get to the substance of our debate. The substance of our debate
is the major
is me
substance.
demonstrating that all of the quote unquote evidence that you feel that you have, which demonstrates that that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
You don't find convincing. I get it.
It's been invalidated by the testimony that we saw. And in your answer for when I explained to you that he had the most degraded prints was, I don't know. Okay, well, there lies my ability to process that.
It's just fine for you to not be convinced up to this point. All of your viewers, everybody watching, you're conceding. Nobody's giving a dispute that if all your claims ever were just up to now, the evidence that the state's given, I'm just kind of not convinced. That is not what's been happening. What's actually been happening is that you've made tons of claims in regards to this case and in regards to the Kirk assassination, which are far above and beyond, I just doubt, the state's theory.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sure. I do doubt the state's theory. I also am welcome to say what I think. If you want to move into opinions, if you want to talk about Erica Kirk, if you want to talk about Turning Point USA,
I'd like to talk about all
and get into it, I'm totally happy to do that. But I just want to say that, I do not feel, because I've said what's important to me is that we exhaust this topic first of our actual debate claims. I do not feel that you sufficiently have argued that the evidence is overwhelming.
Candace, question for you.
But I am sorry you feel that way.
Candace, one question. What evidence do you need to see for you to say Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk?
That's a great question. So I actually expect in this preliminary hearing, the inverse of what he was saying is true, right? So this is now the time the state is putting on their evidence. That's the purpose of this hearing, right? The state is using hearsay, but they're also putting on their evidence. So I was just expecting some sort of a slam dunk. Like, we got him on camera taking the shot. At least we have him clear on camera. You're telling me this guy drove 13 hours all around. Like, we can definitely show you a picture that it's going to be beyond a reasonable doubt before we even get to the trial. People are going to see and go, oh crap, like it was really Tyler Robinson. I was expecting to at least see evidence that, because I had reported early on that the source was saying that Tyler did not step foot on campus that day. It is my perspective that he had something to do with something. I do believe he was disposing clothes at this stage, at this phase. I do believe he was disposing clothes. He was involved somehow. I find Lance to be more suspicious, if I'm being honest with you. And also, like I said, the use immunity that was given to Lance by the feds, the fact that the feds didn't ask him any questions, the fact that I spoke with Lance Twiggs' family, and they were like, it's very weird that the feds are not asking him more questions. He's exactly the person that I would imagine to be involved in some stuff. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly. But when we got to the preliminary hearing, there was not a single piece of evidence that I felt was slam dunk. I was waiting for that, a photo. I mean, anything would have made me go, all right, I think this could be the guy. If they had handed over the discovery on the text messages, since that was their big ta-da, we've got the text messages, that would be the first thing that I would hand over. But actually, who was holding them up? Like I said, it wasn't the prosecution. They're right to say we were handing things over, and we heard the defense argue on behalf of the prosecution saying it's not them and it's not the SBI, it's the FBI that's holding on to things. Because the FBI took everything. The FBI took the gun, the FBI took initially the screwdriver. And then when I heard testimony about the things that they found that were suspicious, example being the backpack, that's something that really bothers me, that they say they traced the shooter, they traced the route that he went on, and then there was an abandoned, it looks like he's wearing some sort of a backpack. We know that there was an abandoned backpack found at the bus stop in front of a library, and they felt that this should be taken into evidence. They took it. The FBI, this was the testimony of Amanda Baker, I believe her last name is, but you might want to fact check that because I think I'm blending last names. She was the forensics for the FBI. And then she says she gets a call on the 13th and they stop testing on this backpack because they find that the backpack actually belongs to somebody on Charlie's team. But if you know the map of the layout of the campus, you're going, well, what the hell are they doing all the way up? This is nowhere near anywhere. And by the way, that's not an acceptable answer for why you just gave it back. That's like, why would you give it back? You're acting like no one's ever been killed by somebody on their team before, right? So I found that to be very strange that it was on the exact route that the alleged gunman ran, and that their excuse was, we just gave it back because we heard that this belonged to somebody on Charlie's team. So that to me is, this is why the investigation itself feels underwhelming. When you learn, and this is completely crazy to me, that some of the artifacts that Charlie was wearing were immediately returned to Erica. That's absurd. That is absurd. Everything should be in evidence. When you learn that the car that they carried Charlie in to go to the hospital, they had immediately towed, cleaned, and back up for resale. That's absurd. That should be sitting in evidence. And any police officer that you speak to will say, or a person that's been involved in a crime will say, I didn't get my stuff back for years. It had nothing to do with anything. It was just around. And they kept it into evidence until the trial was over and it has to be approved. I think somebody said by the attorney general has to sign off on giving you those objects back. And we were told this is all fine. And we see, this is just one example, Erica holding the crucifix. That should be in evidence. Irrespective of if you feel bad for her, I think she should have, have it and it's sweet. That should be in evidence. Immediately paving over the crime scene. This is like the craziest thing ever. This is like defies common sense. You immediately, and when you heard the guy who did it actually go up on a podcast and explain, I got the call. They said it was a paver emergency. I've never in my entire career heard of a paver emergency. They had already had someone come up and dig up the dirt. So by the time he got there on Sunday, the dirt had already been dug up for him to lay down pavers. That is what people are looking at and going, this is weird. There needs to be answers for why this was done. And he tells us the call came from the feds and the governor's office. UVUs washed their hands of it. And what he's saying sounds true because we heard during the testimony, one person described the regions of who was in control of everything. The feds were in control of the courtyard. So in order for anybody to have paved anything, that was federal territory, so to speak. I'm maybe not using that in the best cop term, but the feds were in control of the courtyard. So these are things that I think should be answered for. Why are we doing things differently than you would in any other criminal scenario of keeping the evidence until we know more, until we're confident, the various decoys. I did it. It just doesn't look right.
Okay, so go back to the question. So what would you need to see for you to say?
Something, if they had, I was expecting, here we have him, he took the shot, here it is. And then I'd be like, great, a clear image of him on the staircase where I'm like, that's definitively Tyler Robinson and he was on campus. We got nothing. We got literally nothing but hearsay of people saying.
But you basically get no case.
What?
You basically no case on planet Earth. You get the,
sure.
Oh, we got a picture.
Okay,
Here's him with the murder weapon.
Right.
Here's him taking the shot.
Most of this doesn't take place on a college campus that has surveillance everywhere.
Yeah.
One clear image of his.
But I don't understand when you're
his
asked,
car plates.
if you're asked the question, what would it take to convince? It'd be the same question be asked to me. Andrew, what would it take to convince you that the oppositional is true, right? That he's a patsy or something like that. Just good, clear, concise evidence that's been presented, right? And is being presented that I could go through and link all together to see if there's actually some clear picture of there being a patsy. That's what it would take for me.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. We haven't heard the defense
just
respond.
a good evidentiary standard. And then, of course, I would change my mind.
So just to qualify this, so there is a possibility in the next few months that you may come out and say, guys, it's done. Tyler killed him. Yeah. So you're saying yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for the audience here.
Without question.
For you, is there anything that you could see for you to say, yeah, this guy was a patsy?
Of course, I'm going to always follow evidence.
Perfect.
So my whole thing is just this. It's really important to me. I don't mind people being truth seekers and justice searchers, and the internet has helped solve tons of crimes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, right? However, there's also people who, they not only don't solve crimes, but they just come up with conjecture and what's called flooding the zone. You flood the zone with tons and tons of conspiracy-based ideas and they go nowhere, right? And in fact, they actually take away from legitimate investigation.
Right.
Now, I'm not even saying anybody here is purposely flooding the zone. That's not even the claim. All I'm saying is that the claims made absent, this is just me not being convinced by the state's evidence. Those become claims, and claims have to be defended. Just like mine have to be defended, yours have to be defended. And that's what we're going to get to now, yeah?
You want to get into it? Would you guys like to take an ad break?
That's why I'm here, yeah?
Erica Kirk and TPUSA.
And the conspiracies that have been conjectured by Candace Owens in regards to this case in the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Folks, we'll take a 3.5 minute break and we'll be back soon.
All right, you guys,
I mean, again, though, like, not really talking about nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
nope.
and that's
whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, and that's his point. He wants to just go in circles and hopefully, get her to trip up on some things. And she's not. She's always been very, on it and precise and just very detailed. But it's not really going anywhere at the moment. It might change soon. But,
and my thing is like, okay, you're well versed in debating, right? And you're going up against the biggest podcaster in the world. I don't care how good you are at your craft. When you're going up against Mike, like, why would you not at least attempt a different approach? Wouldn't you assume that maybe she's done her homework on you and she knows your tactics, and now she's preparing for them. So why
Right.
not give her something? Why not give her a different look? You know,
Yeah.
like where's your counter move? Where's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
for him to just double down on his normal strategy, that didn't make any
Right.
sense to me.
No, like us normal people, we've been sitting here saying all week what he's gonna do, and he's literally doing it. You know what I mean? I can only imagine the amount of time Candace has had to study his tactics. Yeah, this is just it's just a bad, you know. I mean, I'm also not surprised. That's why it's kind of annoying too, because we saw this coming from a mile away. The guy has nothing really
sure
to say.
.com/Owens to make about American average on 8.
Okay, defending your position.
.net/Owens. That's AmericanFinancing.net/Owens.
Okay, so we're officially back. Andrew, before we go into the other issues you want to talk about, is it fair to say you're good defending your position of the overwhelming evidence?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. You take the lead. Go for it.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of questions for you, and I want to make it super painless.
Of course you do.
Right. So no traps, no gotchas. I'm just going to ask them direct. And I think that as long as they're not loaded, if they're loaded, you should not respond yes or no. But as long as they're not loaded, if I just directly ask them, I'm hoping that you'll just give me a direct answer. So here's the questions that I have.
Wait, before we get into that, I would like to just reply to that. So just to be clear, we agreed to debate our claims, and then I agreed publicly that I have no issues having a conversation with you about other things that I've discussed that were outside of the court hearing and things like other evidence that's come across our lab and things that we've been speaking about. But I just do want to make it clear to viewers that for whatever reason, you think that you have a right to sort of depose me.
I'm not deposing you. I just want to ask you some questions.
You literally said that I want to be able to question
this is
you.
a meta conversation.
Right, but okay, so
debate.
now we're transcending. Like, let's use a word
there's
a
no-
word
nothing
that you're saying. But this is what you're doing, right? So
Okay.
this part to me feels like a
So
bit
am
of
I
a,
allowed to ask the questions?
I've already said you can ask questions,
Then
but I
let me
made it
ask
very
them.
clear to you
Yeah.
via email and with you in conversation
Mhm.
that we should be speaking. This
Yeah, I
isn't
know,
like
but
you
I
get to
wanna-
sit.
I wanna
I
ask
said
you
if you
some
wanted to
questions.
depose me, you should join
I'm not
Brigitte
deposing
Macron's
you.
defense team.
This
But
is
you're
part-
like, I'm
this
just
is
going
a
to ask questions.
legitimate
Can
part-
you answer it? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you're going to ask.
I
I'm
know.
going to
And
answer
if
as
you
I
have
see
issues
fit
with it,
because I'm not.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Just
If-
so we're clear.
Usually in the debate, if something's not loaded, I'm just direct with
Because
the
you kept
question,
saying
with
I'm
the
Joe
answer.
Rogan. They have no evidence. They have no evidence. And now you're like, let's move away from the evidence.
You
Let's talk about
actually,
transcendental.
yeah, okay. Anyway, so direct question, super easy. Was Lance Twiggs DNA on the rifle, as far as you know?
We can't say that for certainty.
As far as you know.
I already answered that in the first part. We can't say that for certainty. I told you the context of which they spoke about those things.
So no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty until we know what other the 5 sets of prints were
So
on
that
there.
would be no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty.
You can say no, as far as I know, for certain.
We can't say that for certainty. Actually,
You can say
just so
that
you
for
know,
certainty.
if
There you
your
go.
energy here is going to be like you're my dad and you can tell me how to speak or what I'm supposed to say, you're just going to come up against the wall. I'm
Okay,
familiar with
but-
this debate strategy.
but I
like,
am just
yes or no,
telling
yes or
you.
no, yes or no. We're not debating anymore. We're having a conversation. So I already addressed that in the first half of this about why.
No, we're still
there's-
definitely debating. This is still
no, it's not a
this
debate.
is
Now
inclined
this
to
is you
your-
saying I want to probe
Yeah.
things that sit outside of the evidence. I actually already
That you've
addressed this.
stated.
You asked me.
uh-huh.
You're not going to go like where you're
Okay.
sitting and I'm on trial. I'm not on trial.
Okay, great.
So
let's
you
talk
can
about
have a
the
conversation
let's
as
talk
we've
about the
agreed
French.
to.
Let's talk about the Foreign Legion.
Sure.
Was the Foreign Legion, do you believe, trying to kill you?
Yes, that's why I reported it to the correct officials in government. That's what I was told, and I handed over that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office.
What's your best piece of evidence for that?
Well, it was
Positive evidence.
It was told to me
Mhm.
by somebody who is high up in the French government. I passed off that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office. I also passed it off to Trump's office, Donald Trump's office.
Mhm.
And that's all I can tell you. I wouldn't be able to probe any evidence because I don't have the power to do that. I'm not the federal government. And I would also like to say that this becomes this other piece of what you do, which is when people say, I was told this, and this is the evidence that I have, and I'm willing to have that conversation and write the email to the correct government body that deals with this. Like, I can't hack into Emmanuel Macron's bank accounts and say whether or not the
I
information.
agree.
But then you go,
Wait, just a question. If
Yeah.
she's being sued by Macron, right, French family,
Yep.
and I'm assuming George is the access, but it doesn't really make sense to me that somebody high up in the French government is in cahoots with Candace that would be actually looking out for her. Maybe I'm tripping, but when she said, like, I got somebody up high up in the French government that alerted me, why would anybody want to immediately be on Candace's side as far as trying to warn her that people on their team is after her? I mean, I don't know.
I do think that the French people are very similar to us as like the type of Americans we are and how we feel about our government, I think the
Yeah.
French people are like that too. So she might have a
She
Tucker
might, yeah.
Carlson type, you know, in government.
Yeah.
But that's a good
And then,
point.
like I said, her husband is you know, so I could see that too. Okay.
Where's your evidence? It's like,
Yep.
well, my evidence is that I reported it. I did the right thing that you're going to do. So if somebody calls and says, hey, Andrew, there's a viable death threat against you, and that person definitively has the rank to be able to tell you this, and you say, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to report that to the feds, then I go, what's your evidence? It's like, well, I got the information and I gave the information that I got from who I got it to the right body of people. And that's what I did.
Got it. I just want
Cool.
to make sure.
And so
I'm not trying to trap you.
Well,
I just want to make sure I got it clear.
And that's why I say I want to know what you're doing now, because this has always been the thing. It's like, we actually can't win on the overwhelming claim. So we're just going to go and bring up everything that I think can try to embarrass her. I reported
I'm
exactly
not
as I
trying to
received
embarrass
it.
you. I just want to make sure that I get your
Yes,
positions
I
clear.
have not said, yeah, go ahead.
And now you have stated multiple times that you believe that Israel's involved in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Can you give
Yes,
me...
we can pull up the clip. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Go
ahead.
Can you give me the context for what are you talking about? Like when I say, generally speaking, my people think that Israel's involved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where's your question?
Yeah. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive because he was fired up about politics, which Lance testified that he never spoke about with him, nor do I believe that he was, so into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified they never spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your lunch before you go kill Charlie Kirk for LGBTQ issues, because,
Yeah, but do you have positive evidence?
I'm answering the question as I feel like I want to answer it. Like I said, you don't get to for an hour and a half.
But the question I'm asking is about positive evidence.
I'm telling you that in any case, establishing a motive and and again, I already explained this at the top of the show, but the reason why people find Israel to be an interesting question is because truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were changing on Israel.
Sure.
And he was starting to realize how much pressure was being put on not just our government to constantly fight their wars, but also being put on his organization personally. If people had come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true, you would probably have people that just go, that's life. People change their opinions.
I understand.
And then there was the rabid, I mean, not even that, it's like everything was about trying to convince the public how much he liked it.
So then other than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show in the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent.
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students, and they were Israeli students in Utah that day. But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying that he did it, which wasn't really necessary, was quite busy. The phone call that happened, which no one wants to discuss in the Hamptons the week prior, or not the week prior, I think it was around August 5th or 6th that took place. And again, the almost desperate lies about Charlie shifting opinion on Israel lead us to believe that there could be an Israeli angle in this. But we cannot say for certainty that Israel called the shots and this is how it happened. But it is definitively, I think, a thread that a lot of us would like to see.
Say there's no
pulled.
positive evidence.
Whatever you want to say, however positive, negative, however you want to say it.
Well,
I
like positive evidence
just
would
have
be
a conversation.
Material evidence and other evidences. Which
what we've said is on our show is what we've said, which is this feels like a conspiracy building. There's no reason to lie about these things, and yet people are lying. BB ain't acting right. The Hamptons thing was weird, and the way they tried to shove the Israel narrative down our throat immediately. I mean, the day he died, posting a picture of him with an American and Israeli AI'd photo on the president's feed doesn't feel right. So,
do you have any evidence that Erica Kirk or TPUSA participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I've never said they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk. So how could I say that I have evidence they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Okay, so then you don't believe that they did.
I never have said that statement, so I'm not going to get you to ask me personal questions about things that I've never said on record.
Okay, fair.
Your team is sending messages in the back saying they have a video they want to play.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know what the video is.
Of course, they have a video they want to play.
If you're...
Roll the clip.
There's a video you want to play that Candace said she has full confidence Israel was involved?
Yep.
Yeah. He said evidence that they killed him. I said this is why people think they're involvement.
So
if they have the clip, they can play the clip.
Yeah.
They're referring to a clip.
Yeah. Via who? My guess is Pierre Carrica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence.
Okay.
They also involvement.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you think you with full confidence, you think that
I think Israel's
France
involved.
and Israel.
Yeah. I mean, the person that gave me that thing that I reported said that French Foreign Legion were on the ground that day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this would be at a professional limitation for me to then go and probe that information that I handed over. I can't do that. I'm not
But
the
you
United
don't have
States
any
government.
positive evidence of
Okay,
that.
okay.
Right?
Liz, I don't. Can you just stop? It's actually just like annoying to hear you keep saying positive evidence. I've just asked me what I think, and I just tell you, yes, I think they are
that's
involved.
a claim.
No, I said here's what I think.
I have every right
think,
to ask you about your claim.
Yeah, but
and if there's positive evidence
in
for
this
your
statement,
claim.
I literally just said I think, and I am allowed to think. And
Yeah,
you
you're
keep
allowed
saying,
to think,
you have
but you're making
positive
a
evidence.
claim.
I have tons of positive evidence that I'm allowed to think. Yes.
I agree. You're allowed to think.
Okay. So
nobody's disputing whether or not Candace Owens is allowed to think. What I'm asking is
but
you have
what's your issue then? What is your issue with the statement?
evidence.
I think that Israel is involved.
That's not just what you said. You said
I
that
did say I think.
it's with full confidence.
Yes.
You would think that if you had full confidence
to think when you think.
If I said, for instance, I think I'm going to be late to work, right, with full confidence, I would say my evidence for that is that I'm 20 minutes away and I need to be there in 5.
Andrew,
that's how you would know whether or not you had full confidence.
I'm just going to tell you something.
Hang on, let me finish.
Sure.
If it was the case that I said I have full confidence I'm going to be late to work, I would say my evidence that I'm going to be is that work is 20 minutes away, right, and I have to be there in 5. So I have full confidence. That's why I would think that. So I'm asking, if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you say with full confidence, I'm just asking for the evidence, or at least walk me through the mindset of why it is that you could think that with evidence.
I actually don't have to walk you through why I think. I can give you something that I think with full confidence. I think with full confidence that you lost the substance of this debate, and now you're moving toward things that I have said that I think, which I can do. I'm allowed to think that.
This debate.
It's not exactly pertinent to this
It's
debate.
100% pertinent.
It's not pertinent because our debate
these are claims made about Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's the complete substance of the debate.
No, actually, would you like to remind him of what our debate claims actually were?
And would you like to remind you said I could ask you about any of these things to my heart's content?
Feel free, but you do not get to structure how I'm allowed to reply or ask me why are you allowed to think.
I'm not structuring how you're allowed to reply. I'm just asking you direct questions.
I have full confidence that you do not feel that you represented your claim well. And so now what you came prepared to do is to present yourself like a professor of fallacies.
I just want to know.
And to say, you're not allowed to say that. You can't.
You can say whatever you want.
Well,
nobody's disputing that. I'm asking.
It seems like you are disputing it. I think that when this is all said and done, I've already explained to you. I explained at the beginning of this why I think Israel is ultimately going to be proven to have involvement in this. I just explained to you in the middle, and now you're wanting me to structure the sentence or provide evidence. You don't have to. You're just allowed to think. And I've explained to you my thought process. I don't need to structure it in a sentence. If you feel like a professor today, you picked the wrong day.
Don't you think that like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people would want to know what Candace Owens' positive evidence for why it is that Israel and France were involved in the most traumatic public assassination of Gen Z's lifetime is?
That's why they watch my podcast.
So you're just going to drip to them? Like, here's why I think that?
Every time we come across any of these discussions, they're watching this in context and they know why I'm saying it. So, for example, when you're bringing up, Candace, where's your evidence for France doing this? I just told you someone who was high ranking in the French government, right?
Who's nameless?
Of course. But
so there's good reason to doubt this.
It's not a conspiracy, though, if I then took it to the federal government. Like, you can't just go out there making a claim to the federal government and get in trouble for making false statements and things of that nature. So, and then you go, well, I'm going to probe that. Well, how can you probe that? This happened to me.
Ask you, well,
this
that's
is my
not what I'm probing
podcast.
Specifically.
This is my podcast. I am sharing my life and my experiences and what has happened to me. And you're basically coming in like you're gonna regulate how I'm allowed to say it. If
I'm not trying to regulate anything. I'm asking very pertinent questions.
You're sounding a bit like a professor trying to regulate and say, Candace,
you sound very defensive and like you just don't want to answer questions.
I did answer your question a few times. I just didn't say it in the way that you wanted me to say it.
You just obfuscate and you run away from it. But I would like for you to actually focus on it.
Let's just go through every clip that you guys have prepared because I
have to take just 15 seconds of decompressing because they are just but this is his tactic. You know what I mean? This is his tactic. We talked about it a million times. He's going to hound on who is your source. Oh, you're not going to reveal it, so you expect me to just trust you, and it's just going to go on and on and on. And I mean, we already know what Candace is trying to say, and like she said, she can think all she wants to. I can think Joe Kent said X, Y, and Z. We know that there were Israeli cell phones on the ground. So I'm coming to the conclusion that I think that they were involved. Oh, my God.
And like I said earlier, he's focusing so much on what the evidence. Well, in my opinion, he should be focusing on what the evidence proves. Or I take that back. Let me say that backwards. He should be focusing on the evidence itself, but instead he's always focusing, pushing like, what does the evidence prove? What does the evidence prove? It's
Right.
like those are two different arguments.
It is.
Like you should be focused on the evidence and trying to discredit the evidence, because then you don't have to get to the proof. But
Right.
he keeps focusing on the proof part, and it's like you're not gonna win that, bro.
Right.
You're not gonna win
Once
that.
again, the overwhelming part. Explain that. Don't come at me with all of my stuff. Oh my God.
It's pretty. I think with full confidence, people will recognize the strategy that you're trying to employ. So let's get to the next clip you have prepared.
Sure, they can pull up whatever clips they
whatever
want.
it is that you guys have prepared. So
But I would still, on this point, I just want to make sure that you have full confidence that France and Israel were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
I think
and you have no evidence for it at all that you'll give us.
Well, I already did tell you where it came from. Like I said, I can explain it to you. I can't understand
Did
it
that
for
same
you. So if
higher
you
up
need
tell
to,
you
if
that
need
he was
to,
going to kill, or that France killed Charlie Kirk, or just that you were in danger?
they said that the French Foreign Legion was involved and on the ground that day. I've already said that. You just don't like hearing it.
No,
Candace, just out of curiosity,
Yes.
when you pass down that message to Tulsi or Trump,
Tulsi's office, yes.
Tulsi's office, are you giving them who told you that, or you're just saying, here's what I heard from somebody?
And I have this information.
Sure.
And of course, if they wanted to open a file on it, which I thought was quite mysterious, that Trump's office never got back to us. It was kind of weird about like, maybe they're not the correct office too. I did receive a response from Tulsi Gabbard's office, but I don't think there was ever any investigation into what I said.
So the call was, hey, I've been
Emailed.
told the email.
Yes.
Email was, I've been told
I have
somebody
information, that the French Foreign Legion was on the ground during Charlie's assassination. And that, I mean, I was a lot of information, but
well, you didn't give specifics who it was from.
Not in the first email, because I figured they would like.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So if they do contact you,
100,
are you
yes.
comfortable giving 100% who it is?
I would absolutely give them as much information
can I
as
ask a
possible.
question? If whoever's the U.S. government, why are you not?
Yes, it's very strange to me.
You know, so if that's the case, now they may respond back and say, we did, you know, that's their position.
I did. That's why I did it in writing.
And so I'm glad that's the case,
Yes.
because so if they
and
do
right
ask
away in
you,
Trump's office, Margot got right back to me. She said it was on his desk. So he has that. There's no.
And if you do say that and they contact that individual, obviously you don't have to leak your sources here. Is there enough credibility where that person would be willing to talk to them and explain to them exactly what their sources are?
Yes.
Okay. I mean,
It seems reasonable. And so why he's asking me to defend that is like.
I'm not. Never
I
did.
think those are two different things. That's more
Two
something I'm
totally
asking
different
to say,
claims.
why are they not reaching out to you?
I've asked that many times on my podcast.
What do you think about that, Andrew?
What?
The fact that she emailed, she gave it, and nobody reached out to want to contact the
They
source. that
probably
she's willing
didn't
to
think it was
share.
actionable, is my guess. But even if they did think it was actionable, great. Every lead should be followed up on within the confines of what's rational and reasonable.
Is it fair to say that this is maybe a different individual because this is a person that was involved with TPUSA
Well, we
and had a
don't-
relationship with
Wait,
Charlie?
who?
No, her relationship. Like
Yeah.
this isn't just anybody. So if an average person sends it, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know who the source is. We don't know any
Well,
of
then
this.
if it wouldn't
Not the
you,
point.
if you were
No,
in
you
that
don't know.
department, wouldn't you want to even you assign it to one of your
There's
guys
no
to
guarantee
say,
they didn't look into it. How do we know? We don't
How
know.
could they
No,
if
how
they didn't
could they
come
if
get
she didn't give it
the
to them?
information, more of the information, because it
And
was a
by the way,
long
this-
file.
Yeah.
This is a separate. This has
Did
got
you send
nothing to
them
do
the
with the
guy's
debate.
name?
This is more on.
Well, I sent the email, assuming that's you saying like you go and you make a report. You think they're going to come back to you and say, "Hey, what's more information? We're investigating this," and that didn't happen, which is what I raised.
No,
I
I'm
found
asking,
that,
did you send the
especially
source of
because
the
this was at
claim?
a time where they were saying that they wanted to explore every possible lead. I even texted Dan Bongino.
But did you?
So actually, it was three offices:
Let me ask one
the
question. and then
executive
I'm gonna come to
office,
you.
Dan Bongino, and Tulsi Gabbard's office.
Okay, so a follow up to that is the following:
Mhm.
if they contact you to say, is that specifically to the French government or Israel's involvement in the killing of Charlie?
That wasn't about
Those
Israel.
are two separate things.
That wasn't about Israel. It was
Okay,
they were
got it.
saying the French foreign, that person as a part of it was saying that it was the French Foreign Legion that was on the ground that
So
day.
I'm surprised
And
they
I
haven't
think
called you.
then I find that to be very strange too.
I do as well.
Because who would want to make a report? Like, I mean, I've never
But-
made a report with the federal
but when
government.
you did- but when you did send it-
Let me just ask one
Okay.
question, and then I'm going to bring it
Okay.
to you.
Sure.
The question is in regards to, I've not seen that clip, so I'm seeing it now.
Mhm.
I'm full confidence. I believe that
Mhm.
Israel French was involved. Is that also based on a source that somebody told you that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or is that a gut feeling?
So in terms of Israel, I mean, what I've said is what I publicly have said here. I do think that at the end of this, we are going to find that Israel was involved. I do. Now, when in terms of any of the hard evidence that's been presented, I think this has been a huge problem that a lot of us have had is that they won't even explore anything else that was going on in Charlie's life personally. So if we're not satisfied that Tyler Robinson did this in any way, then every alternative theory should be explored. Other evidence should be brought forward. We've done that in our capacity. Like when people keep saying she has no evidence, it's kind of crazy. I think we've broken like more stories than any news source in the world. I mean, down to pictures, details, police officers, what the dog's name was, because we're not the only people that believe there's a conspiracy here. The police officers that were involved, the many police, sheriff's offices, that were departments that were involved that day, all believe there was a conspiracy. Down to the U.S. Marshals believe there was a conspiracy. They were my sources at the U.S. Marshals were saying they were basically sent on a wild goose chase that day.
But do you see how you say my sources?
You're not allowed to have sources.
Well,
like
the thing is funny.
So is CNN allowed to have
well,
sources?
hang on. I have sources. If I said I have sources that claim none of that's true. In fact, my sources claim that her sources are lying. My sources claim that none of them believe that there's a conspiracy. My sources claim all of them really think that Tyler Robinson was a lone gunman. If I just said that as hypothetical, wouldn't you say, what?
Yeah, I think what probably adds weight is like then when I drop photos of the car that no one was supposed to see, people go, okay, her sources are legit. So, and then when what I say is then proven in court and nobody knew those things, people are recognizing that my sources are legit. When I say Charlie was scared in the last days, and then I dropped the text message, which you've just learned about a couple of weeks ago, of him saying he was leaving the pro-Israel cause when everyone was lying about that, then they say, I think Candace's sources are legit.
Cooking.
So I think what's happened is I've actually built up a rapport with my audience that it's not vibes and dreams, and that's why they keep watching my content, because like, for example, when I just the other day released the content of the shooter on the roof doing the lateral crawl, then they're going, I don't think these are just vibes. It seems like Candace's sources are legit. So I've proven myself in the market.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would legitimize your sources as being legitimate when it comes to the idea that, they all believe that there's a conspiracy going on, which is actually what your claim is now.
Well,
how would that actually, hang on, I'm almost done. How would that, how would that legitimize, well, it's not his debate. How would it legitimize these sources that even if it's the case that you get some court footage or some things like this, why would it legitimize that your sources are telling you all the marshals believe it's a conspiracy, all the police believe it's a conspiracy, everybody believes it? How would that legitimize any of that?
What I am saying to you, and you are not forced to believe it. So let me just explain what I was answering here, and I think that you understood what I was saying. Is I have, because people trust me, compiled a lot of information and presented it to the public, and this information has been proven true. We've presented photos, we have presented videos, never before seen stuff. The public has never seen it. And so what that does is your audience goes, okay, when she says that she has these sources, clearly she's telling the truth. Now, whether you would then go, well, I'm going to believe her when she says they think that there's a conspiracy, that's up to you. You can not watch my content. I'm not here to tell you that you have to watch my content or believe everything I'm saying.
Well, don't you think questioners should get questioned as well?
By who? I'm not committing a crime, am I? By just like
well,
saying what I think and
collecting aren't most of the people you ask questions of not actually committing crimes?
But what do you mean they should answer questions where? Like at a police station? Like,
no,
what are you
just
saying?
like if you want people to come in and answer questions for you. I have questions about this in the investigation. I have questions about this. I have questions about that. You want them to answer your questions. Doesn't it seem totally fair that you answer back the questions people have for you?
Well, they're not answering our questions. So it's also fair that they don't answer them.
So you're
That's why I said Andrew Colvett should be in this chair. He's not.
But
That's
isn't that a double standard?
No, it's not, because he's not doing it.
Yeah, but that would still be a double standard. If you're requesting that he does do it, then that seems to infer that you think he owes you answers.
Oh, so inferences are allowed again?
And they never weren't. So that seems to infer that you think that he owes you answers. If that's the case, then don't you owe answers?
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm answering your questions and his questions about, I'm talking about Andrew Colvett. His position is he's a spokesperson for Turning Point USA. So when the crowd turns against Turning Point USA on the basis of a lack of information or because there has been, seeds sown of distrust, I would imagine, and forget answering my questions because it doesn't need to be me.
Aren't you sowing a lot of those seeds of distrust?
Well, I think they're doing a pretty good job themselves, if I'm being honest. You can blame it on Candace all you want.
Well,
people love to do that.
The thing is funny is
people act like I'm ground zero.
I'll be fair with you.
Ground zero of people not trusting Turning Point USA.
I think that there was some PR there. I think there was some PR there. Sure, they could have done better. Absolutely. Yep. I'm not disputing any of that. One thing, though, that I want to just directly ask you is, do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here.
I was just about to say that was like a little defamation trap right there.
It sure was.
Everything I've said is on my podcast. I think firmly that if I was the investigating officers, I would seat them all and I would ask questions. I would at this phase. I would.
Okay,
so
what is
that? The one thing I will say, though, is similar to when Stu Peters did the debate. If she has said things before on her podcast, I don't see why she can't repeat herself right now. Like, you know, she has said before that Blake Neff or my fault, Mikey McCoy, Erica, and others were very shady, and you know, Andrew Covey, if he was on this plane, and all these other things. Like, she has said that TV USA is acting strange, and some could have had for it. She said stuff before, so I wonder, and she might say it, but I don't see any harm of like repeating yourself. But at the same time, debate purposes, that's Andrew Wilson's job to come to me
to
and
know it.
tell me what I said.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you what I said. You're supposed to study me.
Yep, 100%.
Hypothetical.
Does that mean that you do think so?
I think it was not a sufficient investigation into what we know to be true of 80% of homicides. It's usually conducted by someone you know, right? And the fact that that was never even considered, that like I said earlier, the backpack was returned.
How do you know that was never considered?
Because they gave back the backpack as just one example. They gave back the backpack. They gave back the.
That doesn't show a conspiracy.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, it shows that the police trusted everybody and didn't just hold things up for a second.
They ruled them out as suspects.
Right.
That quickly.
Same with the
I'm not
SD cards.
that investigation. It's a pretty big organization. There's $100 million incentive. People, this is
what $100 million incentive.
What I'm saying is his organization, like it had grown to, I think it was 100
plus per year.
Yeah, per year. If that's something you want to factor.
Yeah, but what was
your team wants to play video? If you don't mind,
Yeah.
there's a video they want to play. Candace said it's impossible to not believe Erica's complicit. If you guys want to play that video.
Yeah, shut up. Another video.
And so right now, their guys are going out and they're going to look for evidence. And then by May, which is fortunately around the corner, then she'll see what they found. So what the F is that performance? How could you sit up there and say, I 100% believe Tyler Robinson did it? That right there is why it is impossible for me to think that Erica Kirk is not complicit somehow. Because
those two thoughts actually don't even follow. How would it be the case that even if Erica Kirk did believe that Tyler Robinson was 100% responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, let's say she believed it with every fiber of her being, believed all the evidence, because she did. She just actually did. Would it then follow that somehow she's complicit in his death?
I didn't say complicit in death. You added those two words.
Okay, so what's she complicit in?
Yes, so sowing this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty. So you're chopping up clips. Like I said, you didn't have the confidence.
Okay, well, tell me,
so
what does that mean?
chopping
What
it
does
up.
complicit mean?
We are showing a clip of her on Barry Weiss, which I can't remember the date that she did that interview. And Erica, when she is asked, "Are you one? You know, do you feel with 100% certainty that Tyler Robinson did this?" And she says, "I do." Then again, context matters. I sit down with Erica for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? Like I'm like, this is why I did not engage in any like Erica, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know, just it feels weird to think that, did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, but that's not, you can't convict somebody on weird mannerisms. And then when I sat down with her and I was expecting for her to say, well, you know, I'm obviously the victim on the case and we got to see the shot, you know, taken or this or that, whatever it is. Great. You know, that's why she has that much confidence 2 months ago. And when I sat down with her, it was nothing. It was nothing. Okay. So this is a conversation.
How would that make her complicit?
Complicit. And again, you said complicit in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Complicit in what? Yeah.
Well, if you let me finish my sentence, I could tell you that. But my point being is that then you take a look at this and you go, okay, well, this is weird. Why would you have this confidence? And then when you sit across from somebody and you say, okay, great, I want to go out there and defend you now. I want people to know that you can't say this stuff publicly, but you know more things. And she just blanks. And then she says, well, I'm going to call the lawyer. And she called the lawyer. Again, all this is on my show. So out of context clips, it's not going to work because I know what I say on my show. Okay. So we call her lawyer and her lawyer says to us, she calls him on the phone, pardon me. And it's me, her, and Justin Strife. And I'm like, okay, great. What do you guys have? He goes, well, we don't have anything yet. We're not at that phase yet. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't have anything? And he says, well, don't you know how it works? It's a probable cause hearing. So basically the state says that they're going to bring this forward. And now our people go out and they look for the evidence to assert that Tyler Robinson is guilty. And so I asked her directly, her lawyer directly, the phone's in between us. I'm like, wait, so just so I'm clear, you haven't seen anything that the public hasn't seen? And he says, no. So I'm going back in my head and I'm going, okay, so why is Erica saying with such a degree of certainty, like she was sent out to convince the public and people bit, by the way. I remember even Megyn Kelly was like, let's wait. She's going to have access to things. I did think she had access to things that we didn't have. Why express that confidence to the public as opposed to just being like, We don't know yet. I feel confident he's involved. They
But
made an arrest.
I don't understand, how would any of this make her complicit, and in what?
Well, I've already told you she's complicit in trying
In
to
the
fool the public into
narrative,
thinking this is
bro.
an open and shut
How's
case.
she trying to fool the public into this? If she believes
Like,
it,
don't look
if she
anywhere
believes
else.
that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk, if she believes that, how would that be complicit in anything?
He's not really listening, and that's his intention. He's purposefully not listening.
Completely over his head. Yeah.
In December, she literally said, "I seen it all. They got the guy." And Candace is saying she said she saw nothing now in private, or the lawyer. So yes, that is crazy.
Yep. I feel like people forget, and maybe Andrew too, forget the time frame, because she went on the Barry Weiss interview or the town hall, whatever. Yep. And that's when she said, "I've seen it all." This was before the meeting. So Candace is like, "Oh, you got stuff that I haven't seen. Let's chop it up." They meet, find out, "Oh, you actually have absolutely nothing." So like that time frame matters.
Yes, 100%. And that's why I'm like, I don't know if he's purposely or intentionally not listening or whatever, but
he's
doing
that
thing again.
He don't get it.
I do.
Are you saying that you think she doesn't believe it?
I don't believe that at that stage she sat down with Barry Weiss that's what she believes. No, but that's my opinion.
Right. But so when you just say complicit, you just mean she believes that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk? That's it?
That's what we were talking about. That's why I said if your strategy was to dice up clips and take it out of context and make it seem like I said she was complicit.
Everything.
Yeah, but then why not just play the full thing? Like why?
Because we don't have like infinite amounts of time. I'm guessing you probably don't want to watch.
I'm going to go back to my theory that you didn't feel confident that you could defend your claim that it was overwhelming evidence. So now you're trying to move towards doctored clips and getting me to respond to it.
There's no doctored anything. I'm just making sure that we got this right.
Yes,
that what you're actually saying is that Erica is just complicit in believing it.
When I re-examined her actions backward, because I did not have this perspective of her at the beginning, which is why it's so funny to me that you guys make it seem like I'm ground zero. People thought Erica was sus from day I forgive him. And I was not a part of that. I did not lean into that. I did not contribute to that. I was getting actually terrible messages from my fans being like, "Candace, you and Charlie always say to go with your intuition. You won't address this, how we all feel about her." Things changed for me when I saw that Zoom call. I will tell you that for sure. And the fact that she lied to me. So I sat across from her and, I wanted to have that conversation publicly, but they're probably grateful they didn't do it publicly. She told me some lies. And so the next thing that happens naturally when somebody lies to you, you go, when any person lies to you, whether it's a toddler, people only lie when they're trying to obscure something else.
Have you addressed what that lie was?
Yeah, I've talked about, we have a list of lies that we've been told about. We can find that, I'm sure.
In the meeting with her.
Well, no, I didn't want her to cage up. I didn't want to do this, and because I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't know if she was going to be like, "I'm so overwhelmed with everything, and I don't know who to trust the organization, and I don't know what I'm doing." Like I didn't know. I didn't want to.
Just out of curiosity, before anything happened with Charlie, how close were you and Erica?
Not very close.
So there's not a relationship.
No, I would say it's totally normal. Like it's not like there was any issues at all. We were always nice to each other. It just is. Our life went to a different phase, right? So Charlie and I hitting the ground, running around, traveling 4 days a week. Now I get married. I find love of my life. I get married and I get pregnant. I've been pregnant. I haven't stopped being pregnant. And what you want out of life changes. You don't want to be running around for 4 days a week and traveling on a plane nonstop. You suddenly want to start building at home and live. I was desiring that suburban life.
Did you guys ever do the double dates? You, George, her, and Charlie? Was there ever double dates between the four of you?
I was engaged to George quickly. We were planning our wedding. I was kind of in my bubble with George. George traveled with me and Charlie, but Erica and him were just starting to date at the beginning of 2019. George and I were planning our marriage. Mm-hmm. So George really got to know Charlie. I wouldn't say that I really got to know Erica. I was just rooting for them because I knew how much Charlie wanted to, find love. And so I was kind of his wing woman throughout that phase. And I was just happy. And I never was under the impression, obviously, that they were going to get married when they were dating. So it wasn't like I was conscious that I really need to get to know this person. And so it was just kind of normal that by that time, because of where I was in my life, that I wasn't spending any time getting to know Erica per se.
So the complicit part about Erica to you, is that a gut feeling? Do you think
it transformed when she lied?
You can take the lead. I'm just asking questions.
Yes.
I don't. Go for it. I actually don't. I still don't understand what you think she's complicit in.
Yeah. So when I say Erica's complicit, that's my opinion. When you tweeted Erica's too retarded to kill her husband, would you like to explain how you developed your evidence, your positive evidence for the fact that Erica was retarded?
Yeah, sure. So I just think all women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff. Who knew? So and by the way, what dramatically transformed your opinion of Erica after going to the headquarters? Because
I just have to say this for anybody who didn't catch our episode last night and just don't know my position. I am a man of faith. Part of the reason why I'm doing my channel is to kind of push people out of this idea of just accepting everything that comes from a person who labels themselves a Christian. This is a perfect example. I tell people all the time, you will know them by their fruit. Someone with good fruit does not talk like this. They do not act this way. I had to say that because when I heard him say that about Erica, I didn't know that he tweeted that.
Yeah.
That to me is like, okay, no, you're not on this level, bro. Even if you are a Christian, you're not the kind of Christian that I want other believers to model after.
Yeah, 100%. And he has said much worse things about women in general. So
Clearly,
that is probably surface level conversations.
yeah, if you're saying that publicly, imagine what you're saying privately.
Yeah, 100%.
You were pretty hostile about.
I wasn't hostile towards him.
You don't think calling somebody too retarded?
No, come on. That's like normal tongue-in-cheek stuff for me online.
Oh, you're being tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, usually when I call someone retarded, I'm being tongue-in-cheek. Yeah. Like for instance, you got supporters. I mean, if you want to use the same exact argument, you would take a supporter like Owen Benjamin. He called you bad names and called your husband bad names. You're just like, well, that's no biggie.
I've never answered him on anything that he said. I'm saying that you now are her biggest defender. So do you still think
I'm
she's
not her biggest defender?
Do you still think she's too retarded?
No. I didn't know Erica Kirk. I'd never met her before.
Okay, but you had an issue with Turning Point being led by a bunch of fembots talking about the feminist angle.
Still do.
And then suddenly you go to the headquarters.
Still think it's a terrible idea.
You go into the headquarters. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden you've got text messages that you're sharing with them. You say that you and your wife are getting involved with management.
No. I'm not involved in any management at Turning Point.
Well, I'm pretty sure there is a clip of you where you say that your wife went to their recent conference and sat down. And then when you were on Joe Rogan.
No. Hang on. I'll explain what happened.
This is a part of the reason why, we've been talking about it as well. And I've been saying it all week on this guy's character had no reason to be platformed in front of millions today at all. Because I ain't gonna say everybody, because I know you said that you haven't heard some of this stuff about him, but most people knew that this is what he thought about women. Most people knew that this is him. So somebody like this just had no reason at all making money today, being platformed today, being the talk of all social media today at all. It's just ridiculous.
Yep. We talked about Blake Bednar's yesterday and how he, kind of a bad faith actor or a bad faithful. We talked about the Traders reference. Andrew is like that on steroids. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And just so that you understand.
Yeah.
So I was invited there to do some debate training. That's literally what I was invited there to do on recommendation. So I went down and did some debate. That's the first time I ever met anybody at TPUSA.
Okay. And then you said you sat down with Erica.
Well, I didn't sit down to her. I talked to her in a hallway.
So you didn't sit down and speak with Erica?
No, I didn't have like some sit down long conversation. We talked in a hallway.
Okay. Is that when you gave her the hug?
Yeah, gave her the hug right there. My wife did too. We were both very sorry for what happened.
Okay. So at what point did you start receiving text messages from that you cited in your opening statement?
I just reached out to TPUSA and said, I'm prepping for a debate. Is there anything that's pertinent that I can use here?
Do you find it interesting that people have been asking for, basic answers to questions, and you're saying that you walked into their headquarters and reached out
it's amazing, isn't it? If you reach out in good faith and you're not demonizing them and saying that they're complicit in the murder of people's deaths, that perhaps they're actually willing to release things to you.
No, I'm not buying that. You have a public tweet calling Erica that word. You shouldn't be in cahoots. That doesn't make any sense for you to walk in their headquarters and they're like, Andrew Wilson, somebody out of good faith that's called our CEO a terrible name. Hey,
the CEO.
Right. Here's great information to go debate this weekend or like, I'm not buying it, bro. No. Like, this is crazy.
Stop, bro.
That are pertinent, other than thinking that perhaps you're diabolical.
Well, I don't know. I feel like if I was going to release that information, I didn't demand that it be released to me. I actually never demanded that it be released. I just simply said that this is what was going on in the last 48 hours. Maybe to the media they could release it. They could release it to PBD. They decided to release it to a guy that called Erica too retarded in June.
So what?
Yeah, I just think it kind of shows that Turning Point is sending you as their horse.
Well, I don't know where
they don't have the courage to have the conversation.
Like, I don't.
If they were just releasing something in
Let
good
me ask you
faith
a
to answer
question.
questions,
Do you have any
I've never
evidence
demanded.
of that claim?
It's not evidence.
No.
You're sharing your opinion
No.
that she's too retarded. I can't share my opinion that I think it's going to
Well, I never
register
met the
as
chick.
really obvious to the public that rather than presenting that throughout the course of everybody wanting to know what Charlie was going through his last days, they decided to give it to you to come to my house as some sort of a surprise.
Well,
do you think the public's not smart enough to see through that?
Do you think that if you
talking
know
about terrible PR,
if you know that there's a huge debate that's coming up that's going to be probably one of the most viewed that year, and one of the debaters calls you and says, I'm taking this position, this is the position that I feel like there's the most evidence for, and Candace also agreed to answer many of my questions in regards to this. So if you got pertinent evidence here that I can use, I definitely like take a look.
What is
It was actually amazing to me. It really was actually amazing to me how if you approach people in good faith and just say, hey, I'd actually like to know what the facts and details are around this, they actually do talk to you. It's amazing.
Yeah, I just do not believe that they are doing this in good faith. I don't believe that anything you have done is demonstrated that's in good faith. It demonstrates that you walked into Turning Point USA headquarters and came out a different man because you were critical of the organization. You were critical.
I just want to say one thing really quick too. He's lying because I can't even put a percent of it, but it's a large amount of people who just had a lot of love for Charlie and supported Charlie that are asking the same questions. And they're not giving it to him. And these aren't people that are calling anybody names. These are people being like, hey, I was a super fan of Charlie's content, and I'm extremely bummed out about what happened. Can you guys give us some answers and whatever? And they haven't done it. So now he's saying, oh, look, all you have to do is go in there and just ask and look what they give out. And it's like, that's not true at all, bro. Like,
bro, and you know he's capping, bro, because Candace already brought it up. She was the last person in this space to actually turn on TPUSA. She was defending Andrew. She was defending Brian Harpole. She was defending Erica. And we were all like, no, you need to start asking questions about these people. That's what got Blake Bednar so mad, is that she was ignoring all the evidence that we were pointing out for so long. So how can you then argue that she's not reaching out in good faith when she did that before you did?
Right.
Makes no sense.
Right. Exactly.
Of Erica, and now you're sitting here going, Candace, I want to interrogate you for an hour and a half about everything you've ever said about Erica. Have you ever been
critical of somebody that you hadn't met and then you meet them and you're less critical of them?
And the inverse has happened too. I was less critical about Erica, and now I'm more critical about her.
But I'm asking you, isn't it the case that there's people you've been critical of and then you've met them and you're less critical after you meet them?
Too retarded. I feel like if you think that she's dumb and let's just talk about your record. I mean, you're a person that has spent time in what most people would term to be the manosphere, talking about feminists. Well, yeah,
I debate against
against feminists
and red pillars, and a lot of the actual. So I'm a Christian ethicist.
And then you go on to Joe Rogan, and you're like soft explaining away why Erica had to take over Charlie's company when they don't have a parent at home. So now you're a feminist icon. Like, you just go into the headquarters and you just shift all of your perspectives.
That's a bizarre criticism. Like, nobody's in the bigger girl boss position than you.
I'm actually
You're in the biggest of the girl boss positions. Like, you don't have to do this. You just do this. You could definitely not do it at all and be fine, right? But you still do.
I would say that you are making a comparison that cannot be compared because Erica's husband was just assassinated in front of the world.
Which makes sense. Why should we take the organization over?
It makes sense why you would go home to your kids, just so you know.
Wait a second. That's bizarre.
Yeah, because they don't have a parent. They don't have a parent, and they just suffered a trauma. You don't go into the office.
You want to protect your husband's legacy, right? And you're trying to find some new normal.
The legacy is his children, not the organization.
It's both.
No,
yes, it is both. It's totally rational and reasonable.
I just want to. I know people are probably annoyed. I just want to put it out there that I also recognize that not a lot of people, and this is the whole part of the PSYOP, and why sometimes I feel like a lot of this is performative. You go on X, I'm looking at X right now, and everybody's like, this person won, and it's like, whatever. But nobody looks at the board of TPUSA. Everybody always has smoke for Erica. Everybody always has smoke for Andrew Covet, blah, 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 all the way down the line. The board, and Erica is on the board, but she wasn't before. Like, they appointed her to that spot, and nobody ever has smoke for any of those. Do you even know the names? You know what I mean? Like, nobody ever has smoke for them when ultimately they are also cool with all of this fire going on. They are also cool with Andrew Covet, Erica, everybody making a million mistakes, and nobody even knows who their names are. That's why I'm like, dog, none of this sometimes feels real, because everybody's like, Erica this, Erica that, and I'm like, dog, these people on the board could literally say, Erica, you good, go home, we got you. Like, gonna burn Charlie's organization to the ground. We were on his board when he was alive, so you should trust us.
Right.
But nobody ever has smoke for them. It's kind of, I don't know, it's weird.
And do you know if Turning Point USA, the parent company, are they a nonprofit like Turning Point Action and these others?
It's a nonprofit, so it was never owned by Charlie. Like he didn't have. He could not.
I'm only curious. No, I was just gonna say I was only curious because if it's like a normal like for-profit corporation, the board is in charge. Like the board is Erica's boss, right?
Yeah,
like
and that's what it is right here. It was not Charlie's company. He can say who he would prefer to take his position, but it's not up to him on who takes over Turning Point USA. Yeah, so but nobody ever talks about the people on the board, and I'm like, that's just odd because they are the ones also cool with everything.
Yep, true.
I believe that it would be both Turning Point USA that is part of Charlie Kirk's legacy. He worked his whole life
I think
for
this is why people think she's sus.
and his children. Now, for you though to say that anybody's a girl boss, right? That's like the pot calling the kettle black.
That came out of your mouth.
No, if that was you, you brought up girl boss.
Girl boss came out of your mouth.
Yeah, I'm telling you that you brought up this idea that I'm defending some feminist nonsense. I'm not. I'm pointing out that they're by the way,
she's not qualified to take over his company.
There's always objective outliers to each situation. In fact, it's the exception that proves the rule. And the interesting thing here is like, I'm still just as critical of feminism inside of TV USA as I've always been. And I'm just as critical of any pro-Zionist position as I've ever been. None of that's ever changed. By the way, I would think it's the most rational, reasonable thing on planet Earth to do if you wanted to actually see an organization change, to try to work with leadership or reach out to leadership to try to do so. Doesn't that make the most amount of sense?
I would like to state for the record that I think Erica is underqualified to run the organization. Sure. And on the more emotional aspects, I agree with what seems to be a majority opinion, because I'm not going to say it's scientific, that any woman that would leave her kids and go right into the office after their husband was publicly assassinated does not have their priorities straight.
Okay, well, I understand that you can have those criticisms, but I'm not understanding still how that would make her complicit.
I don't have to keep answering the same question.
Okay,
so
let's
see.
How it's complicit.
Your team is asking to play a clip, so if we want to play this clip to just finish this segment on the Erica Kirk topic, we can spend some time on that as well. So if you guys are ready in the back, we're ready.
And causing that 30-06 diameter, as would happen with a pet and explosives, as we've demonstrated to you in the past, it accidentally, because of how Charlie was crouched, went up and hit his neck. And that ruined everything. That ruined everything. It was problematic. It's the reason why Terrell then had to scramble to get the cameras down, because they were never supposed to see it. They could have said reasonably that a 30-06 got eaten by Charlie, much more reasonably, obviously, than saying that the chicken bones in his neck stopped it because he ate vegetables. They panicked. That's why Terrell's nervous on the phone with me. Again, this is my theory, and I am now very much sticking to it. Okay. They panicked. It's the reason Erica had to step out. That's why she would have gotten on the phone with Terrell so quickly, because I was going, why is Terrell saying, well, I didn't want Erica to relive. Oh, that's why I did it. He didn't have an answer. He was nervous. It was crazy. But he acknowledged that he spoke to Erica immediately. Why did you speak to Erica immediately?
Do you believe that there was a shape charge that killed Charlie?
Hey, can I ask you why you keep starting clips mid-sentence?
Probably to get to where the clip is.
No, it doesn't seem that way, because you can always start a clip at the beginning of a sentence. Like you're just it's completely out of context.
Wait, I didn't prepare the clips. But I didn't, but it's fine to ask it to back it up.
Like I said, I don't need to say what's happening here because the internet will clock it. But in this episode, we are now going, and that's why I said we're now going to look at some alternative theories. I made it very clear that this was a theory that I didn't want to look at. This is, I believe, because I don't have every episode in my head, but I'm pretty sure this is an episode where we presented the evidence that was in the car, the photos of what was in the car, right? And so we are now inferring off of what we see in the car that this very much does look like that we see a bunch of shattered Rode microphone, which was an early theory that I was actually interested in, but couldn't really wrap my head around what was the shape charge explosive. As I say at the beginning of the episode, it was just not my expertise. And I was concerning myself with timelines and stories and statements that didn't make sense. Without question, Terrell Farnsworth is someone who made me think that we were missing a big part of the story. So I'm walking them through John Bray's theory. If we started to insert what we are actually observing with the evidence that we're taking a look at and what took place that day. So we're completely in the hypothetical right here. And you're now introducing this.
If that's the case, if you're just hypothetically exploring it, that's why I'm just asking directly.
Yes, but that's obvious when you watch this episode. So that's why it feels like I'm in the middle of an interview with CNN when they like pull up random clips and they're like, "What's this? What's this?" You watch the episode, you know what it is. I'm just trying to make sure.
Do you think that your alternative theory?
I think John Bray's theory should be explored. Yes.
Okay. Do you think that Charlie Kirk was killed with an explosive?
I think that is a possibility. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And it should be explored. He's done a lot of work on it. John Bray has done good work, and I think that that's why that theory is now starting to gain steam since we released the second set of the photos of what was in the car. I think it's viable.
So this was the big thing I wanted to get into with you on the explosives too.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about that theory that's actually compelling to you? So I looked into the explosive mic theory multiple times. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing that stood out to me is there's no explosion. there's literally no explosion. In fact, there's videos when the shot rings out that kills Charlie. At least it sounds like a shot to me. People are actually like looking up towards where the gun is being fired. They're looking away for where the sound is. Like, where's the actual explosion?
Well, for every person that you say looks away, there's going to be a person that was looking forward. We have former Marines that have gotten on and said, it looks to me like there's an explosion under his shirt, right? You obviously saw Rob O'Neill go on to, I'm forgetting which platform it was, where he said, it's the first thing I thought was
Rob O'Neill is the man that killed Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, and I think he's qualified to say what he believes he saw. We should actually, since they're pulling clips, we should run that clip of Rob O'Neill and what he said and what he observed and his experience. Yeah. So
Andrew's about to show his arrogance right now.
Who immediately spoke to the media that day, who said the same thing, that they thought that something happened under his shirt. That was actually, if you go back to like my first episode, when I was just observing what I saw with my eyes, I was asking the serious question. I was seriously saying, why is it like somebody shot him from underneath? Why is his shirt moving first? That doesn't make sense to me. And that's
because of air dispersal from the bullet. So whenever a bullet is shot, a projectile shot, you can actually run this experiment yourself if you have a rifle. Mm-hmm. Take like an empty box of ammunition and put it on the table, and then fire it near the muzzle, and that box will actually blow off the table.
Okay, so question for you. Does that box go sideways off the table?
It can.
It can.
Yeah, it can. It depends on the dispersal.
You shoot 3,000 pounds of energy or 2,000 pounds of energy coming at you. That's how much it carries.
Well, it's not 2,000 pounds of energy.
Well, we can fact check that. How many pounds of energy is it? A 30-06 being shot 150 yards away? That's a great question for Grok. I'm going to say when we looked at it, it was between 1,500 and 2,000. I'm pretty sure pounds of energy coming at you, and you just go upward and to the side. I don't really buy that. I'm going to just say, I just think that that's not
but
possible. It doesn't go through on top of that. So there's another miracle. You didn't get blown backwards. It didn't go through. But I also want to say that you're saying this can happen, and Rob O'Neill is infinitely more qualified, I think, to speak on that.
Why?
And
3,000 pounds of energy.
He's actually shot and killed people.
Why would that have anything to do with anything?
Because
did he slow down all the videos of the people he shot to see if their clothes moved?
Well, why are you able to assert your position as a fact?
Because I'm gonna tell you how projectiles work. He's not even gonna I guarantee you this guy's not even gonna disagree with what I'm about to say. If it is the case that you have energy and you have mass, and the mass is moving in the air has to go somewhere. It doesn't have a choice.
I think you're totally BSing right now, man.
Not only am I not BSing, I'm telling you the truth. If a bullet is moving in air has to move out of way of bullet.
But maybe not at the bottom of a shirt here. I don't know. I disagree with that. I'd like to say, for the record, I've watched some of you do these sorts of things where you assert something with a lot of confidence, and you
can fact check it.
Your
shirt, if bullets displace air.
Not about whether it displaces air, it's where it dispersed the air. Underneath his shirt here.
It's not underneath the shirt.
A bullet's this big, and you're telling me it's going to hit his neck,
Candace,
and then
it's not underneath
it is beneath
the shirt.
The shirt
starts
puffs
up here and the collar's moving, and then you see the wave here as he's moving backwards.
No.
Yeah.
That's not true.
It's not.
And we obviously can't show that clip. I disagree with you.
Okay, I understand you can't show it for TOS purposes.
Exactly. I disagree with you. People can go watch and make up their own minds. We don't need to debate it. Whether or not that was the first thing I said was, why is his shirt moving first? That didn't make sense to me. It almost looks just like this. It goes across. His necklace breaks first before Charlie even reacts. If you watch it in slow, his necklace breaks first, which I thought was very odd. And then you see a puff here, and then the next thing you know, there's the entry wound on his neck. I would not confidently assert that I see smoke. I've never said it on my platform.
Do you think that an explosion generally has smoke?
I don't think that there's any quality version of video that would get us to be able to answer that question other than Terrell's 4K footage that he has from the front. So
there's a lot of, if you look at the Israeli pagers, it's assumed that it's a similar, if not the same type of explosive that was used inside the pagers that would have been used inside of this road mic.
I think that you should, since you love debating, you should debate someone like John Bray, who's worked on that theory for 11 months, and ask those sorts of questions of how shaped charge would work. I presented the evidence of what was in the car. And I also, at that episode that you're clipping, said John Bray has done an unbelievable amount of work on this. Mm-hmm. And I think he has debated a ton of people, actually, regarding this topic. So that's the route that I would send you on. For
that's fine. That's fair.
for the purposes of my show, I do believe, to answer your question, that it is a hypothetical. I mean, that it is a theory that should be thoroughly explored.
There's 2 clips your team wants to show. One of them is the Rob O'Neill clip, since we're on it. So if you guys are ready in the back before we go to ad break, if you want to pull it up, this is a good time to do so.
And good to see you, General Holt. A lot of things bothers me about this. Nothing in particular. It's not like I'm out there saying big lie or conspiracy or someone did it. I'm just saying I've been in a lot of shootings. I've killed more than a handful of people, and this thing looked shady off the bat. I mean, I've killed people closer than I saw the camera, and I've never seen a shirt move like that. That looks like an explosion to me. Just the fact that no one started doing first aid to Charlie Kirk. They were more concerned about getting SIM cards out of cameras, removing cameras, and then getting him off the X somehow. There didn't seem a lot of concern for his life. It seemed like just clean it up. And then, I mean, I've been told they paved it over a couple days later. And then you get Erica Kirk behind all the razzle dazzle, and she's really quick to forgive the alleged shooter, which technically says that was him because I forgive him, but that you can't forgive Candace Owens for having an opinion or asking questions. And they mock people by saying, "Oh, I'm just asking questions." Yeah, I'm a SEAL Team 6 sniper. I'm asking a lot of questions. No one wants to answer them.
And you're able to.
He's actually said very little about the explosive there. So
he said he shot people up close, and he's never seen a shirt move like that, and it looked to him like an explosive. That's what he just said.
But when I play that video at full speed, I can't see a shirt moving. I can only see a shirt moving when we slow it way down. So if I'm in real time, I'm just assuming this, right? I mean, if I was in real time and I was in like a close quarters combat, you kill somebody situation, and I shot them, would you even see the shirt move?
Well, I just feel like 5 minutes ago you were arguing that it was because the bullet carried air. Now you're saying you don't see the shirt move at all.
Yeah, but that's if you slow it down, the disbursement of air, that's where you're going to see it, right? It's going to be very quick, very, 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 very fast.
Yeah,
and then
that's not what I saw, and clearly it's not what he saw, and he thinks that there could be an explosive. So I'm just saying to you, when people disagree with you, your opinion's on a fact. That's all.
I understand.
I think that's a good place for us to, if we have another break, and then we can keep answering your questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. We'll do a quick 3.5 minute ad break. We'll be back for the last segment.
Cool.
All right. Thank you.
All right, you guys, I want to tell you about Ethos because life has a way of changing.
Yeah, he still ain't. He's not saying anything, bro.
At all, bro. At all.
He's not defending his claim, which is the evidence is overwhelming, at least 75% overwhelming, not 100%. But he's not defending that claim at all.
Nope. He completely abandoned it, which is why I said, and you said it too, we've been talking about it since yesterday. He's not interested in winning the debate unless winning for him is knocking Candace off her square. Right. He's not actually interested in actually winning from a formal standpoint of presenting more compelling evidence.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's why it sucks, because this is no surprise at all, and that's why we're like, we knew this was going to be just a big waste of time. And yes, she kills him, but at the same time, like, he didn't even put up a fight. You know what I mean? Like, we already knew Candace was going to do what Candace does, but it's like, y'all could have sent somebody in there that was prepared for a Candace, like you said earlier. This is just terrible, man.
Yep, he wasn't ready.
Freezing your bank account, tax it, your team as what you or this in the product that I'm putting or trying it at.
We can do fine. Yeah, so I just have.
All right, fantastic. So Andrew, if you want to go with your last couple thoughts.
Yeah, so I just have two more clips to play.
Okay.
Right, and then we can do final thoughts. I'm guessing. I feel like we got where we were trying to go, or at least for the most part. So the two other clips.
Oh yeah, here we go.
I want to play the Twigs clip. That one is important to me, the Twigs DNA clip.
Yeah.
And they're going to pull it up just to have you respond to it.
Well, you don't have to play it because, like, if you're saying that when I initially watched it, I thought that Lance Twigs' DNA, like, he was directly responding to that because the testimony was a bit confusing. They started by saying that they were going to, like, explaining how they got the samples, and they said Lance, Matt, and Amber Robinson, how they got their DNA samples. And then they started speaking about the gun and said, multiple prints were found on them. And then they moved and they said Lance Twigs' DNA was found on the screwdriver. When I went back and rewatched it, I realized, well, they haven't officially said that Lance or Amber are on the gun. So I think I've already conceded that we don't know that. So I think, like, but if you want to play the clip,
this is directly you saying it is on the gun. Twigs' DNA
I'm saying
is
that
on
I
the
feel
gun.
like I've already said to you, like, I've made that concession. But just to be clear, whenever I make a mistake, I just correct it. So that's why when you were asking me 3 times, I've already said we don't know yet, and I've corrected that mistake. So if the purpose of you showing this is to demonstrate that Candace makes mistakes sometimes when she's taking in a lot of information and she's reading through legal documents and she's trying to remember 9-hour testimony.
It's just demonstrate something else. It is, in fact, the case. We're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm going to make mistakes.
And I've already
You're going to make mistakes on the case.
Yeah.
But in this case, you were very adamant that his DNA was on the gun itself.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that it's not ruled out. We know that there's 5+ prints. I've said this so many times. I had to rewatch the testimony again. It's like 9 hours a day. It got very scientific when they were speaking about this. And I think I wrongly extrapolated that they meant all 3 of them were on the prints when the only person they officially named was Matt Robinson. So we don't know yet if Lance Twiggs has his DNA on the prints, DNA on the gun officially just yet.
Okay.
I've already conceded that.
Sure.
So
that's fine. And then the last one is one with Erica Kirk.
Sure. This is like the Erica Kirk. All right,
Well,
Erica. You could just sit down with me, Erica, but we could do it this way.
This goes back to a previous claim that you made.
Yeah,
by
sure.
bringing it up.
Straight to jail for questioning, at least, Erica.
I don't care who's mad. I really do not care who wants to be upset after this episode. Really, you'll be wasting your breath. You can spend $1 billion on influencers because this is all becoming increasingly inexplicable. You are asking me to be an idiot, actually, and I cannot do that for you. Someone once commented beneath this show that if the situations were reversed and there were this many verifiable lies,
straight to jail.
Yeah, so that's the show intro, and straight to jail is a monopoly term.
Okay,
like, you know,
so do not pass go.
Yeah.
Do not collect $200.
Yes, it's obviously tongue in cheek, and then we explain that actually I think that she should be brought in for questioning because of inconsistencies. So this is the exact episode when I started to think that she should be sat down and questioned. And I still believe that. I still hold the perspective that Erica should be sat down and she should be properly questioned.
Do you know that she hasn't been?
No, actually, that would be a great thing for the spokesperson of Turning Point USA to say that she's already.
Yeah, why do they?
I mean, my guess would be she hasn't because they returned everything to her.
Yeah.
But
why do they owe you that though? Why
they don't owe me anything. That's my show you're watching. Just the clips that you're pulling are from my show. So if I want to say something on my show, I can say that. I didn't say they owe me something. I don't think that's ever. Unless you have
but
another
if you
clip.
say like you need to be sat down for questioning and you don't even know if they haven't been, that's strange, right?
Do you know if they have been?
No, I have no idea.
So you're just saying, what if they haven't been?
Yeah, if your entire
just kind of filling the air
if your entire thing is
junk.
No, it's not junk. If the query is why is it that Erica Kirk's not being sat down for questioning, but you have absolutely no knowledge whether or not she's been sat down for questioning or not, what that does is it creates an innuendo. It creates an inference. It creates out to the ethos that this should be happening because something's wrong here when you actually don't have the knowledge that anything's wrong at all.
I just think that my opinion is that she should be sat down and questioned.
But you're not sure if she hasn't been.
Yeah, and you're not sure if she has been either. So, like I said, I feel like now you're just kind of filling the air with nonsense. Because Turning Point's like, we want to make sure that you go in there and you defend Erica. And I have to say, I don't think you've done an extraordinary job at that.
But I'm not here to defend Erica. The thing is, though, is like
that since 4 out of 5 of the clips that you had on the ready when we asked you guys ahead of time. I mean, I want to just assert how professionally we have dealt with this debate. As you can see, we have not planned any gotcha clips for Andrew. I expressed to him that what we were going to do was just to use people for fact checks, and because I might not remember something, or I do remember something and you're saying no, and that is what I think will register to people as very fair. We did not take out of context clips of Andrew to try to
expressly said that I was going to bring claims.
We did not. Right? No, when you said you were going to bring claims that you would want me to speak to, you didn't say I intend on sitting you down with out of contexted clips to which we said to you before in an email. Any clips that you want to share with us, send it over. Let's assert a debate claim so that we can both be ready to respond to it. That's
not really what happened.
Well, what didn't happen?
The way that you're framing the exchange, that's not actually what happened. We were negotiating. It is true. We negotiated out the claim itself, right? Which one's going to take?
What are we talking about? Now we're debating what the negotiation contract said. Like, oh my gosh.
Which position? I wanted to make sure that I had at least an hour and a half on mine, and you got the time for yours to question me. We did. We got through your hour and a half on mine, roughly an hour and a half now on mine. That's basically how this went.
But in the beginning, I did not take an hour and a half to just pull out of context lists with Andrew. I actually debated the substance of what's going on in this trial and this hearing. And I do think that you fell short of that.
There's nothing out of hang on.
And
there's nothing here except holding you to account for your claims.
Yes or no. Well, we were supposed to be debating the case and whether or not there was overwhelming evidence.
These are your claims about the case.
No, you then admitted that now you're getting into another sphere and you want to talk about the transcendentals and things that I've said.
We got through,
and like 4 out of 5 of your clips are about Erica Kirk. So the general perception
I don't think 4 out of 5 even
is your Turning Point's course.
Oh,
I
so
think
you just-
quite a
you
few
just-
of them were.
you
Were
just-
there 3
just made it
Ericas
up?
or 4?
So you just making stuff
Can
up?
we get a count of how many were about Erica? I feel
I
like
think it was
Yeah.
3.
3. Okay,
Yeah,
3. I
3.
said 4.
But those are extraordinary
sorry.
claims. That's which is why you're asked about
Okay,
them,
well,
right?
okay, but the point being is now you're veering into trying to get me to defend my opinions, and then you completely shirk responsibility when I point
claims.
out yours. No, they're not claims. When
No,
you
they're
tweet Erica
claims.
is too retarded, you go, that's just whatever, and then you move
That's
on.
a claim
Uh,
that and I'm responsible for the claim.
Well, earlier when I brought it up, you said that it was tongue in cheek.
Yes, sure. That's me responding to your criticism
Okay.
of the claim. That's all I'm doing here.
I was interested, and
And I'm happy to get into also the Patsy stuff now, if you would like to.
well,
Your
that
team
was
has one more
supposed to
clip
be
they want
the
to play
whole
One
from
thing.
more.
7 days
Okay,
ago.
sorry.
They got one
They
more
had
clip.
two.
and
We
then
were
can
getting
go to
into the Patsy stuff, and you stopped it, and I was explaining to you. Oh, they have one more clip. Okay, let's go.
They want to hit the minimum of 4 clips you were saying with Erica. So
100%.
This is absurd.
okay. And this is the one you were saying from 7 days ago.
PBD, you still a fed slot pusher. I ain't forget.
Okay. While they're looking for that, do you want to continue?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
can I
yeah.
ask a question? I know it's been, or like, can I ask a question? Or are we
Not
just in
really. I'm just gonna.
Okay.
We're going to hold to the actual contract itself.
the contract does not say that you are allowed to just question me without me being able to respond to you
I've never said you
or
can't
have
respond.
a conversation.
You've been able to respond to every question I've asked you. And by the way, the other thing is like
Let's have
I'm
it your
still-
way. I want it to look like
Still happy
we've
to have
done
the
everything
debate.
Andrew wanted to, so that people can fairly assess the situation. So you have it your way. I
Totally
will not
fine.
ask a question.
Totally fair with me.
So are you good with her asking a question or
He
no?
said no.
Waiting for the clip.
Okay. So you want to wait for the clip first. Okay. You guys have it in the back? Okay, beautiful.
You need the
your
Jeopardy
team
thing.
told me they had it. So
That's what I heard. Okay, there we
come
go.
on, guys.
Did this crime. Okay. Because Lance
I can't hear
Twiggs
this. My
has his
thing went off. Just
DNA
tell me when
on
it's
the
done.
towel.
It's fine.
Lance Twiggs has his DNA on the rifle.
Lance Twiggs
And to
has
be
his
clear,
DNA
Lance
right.
Twiggs'
Said this
DNA
4 times,
was
but I don't
not
know why they feel
as
like they need
degraded
to-
as Tyler Robinson's DNA was on Tyler's rifle. It's Tyler's rifle.
No, you
but
also said,
Lance's
yeah, it's
DNA
not as degraded on the rifle.
Yeah, because I thought he was one of the things, but I've
Right.
already that's what I mean when I say that. Like, it just seems like you're not actually here trying to engage, because I even before you got to this and I knew that you had some secret clip plans. I said to you when I rewatched the testimony, I realized that they didn't explicitly say Lance Twiggs. They said 5 other profiles were on it, and that his was the most degraded. So I hope your team feels fulfilled in playing that. Is there any more? I'm happy to play every clip that he has on the ready. Anybody?
You said you had some new evidence at the beginning of the.
Oh yeah,
debate
we should
you had
show that
something
text
new.
message that you
Did
read,
you
just
wanna
because
share
I
that?
think that's important for the public. You shared it out of context.
I'll do it on my show. I'll share the text
So you're going to
message.
read it on my show, but not show it.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'll show it on my show, but that's what I'll do. I'll show it on my
Can
show.
I ask why?
Well, because I want to drip out the evidence. You know, that's got to drip out that evidence, keep people coming back for the show, right?
I don't know if snark serves you so well.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, I'll release it there. Yeah, that's my intention. But yeah, I'm fine with closings if you want to do closings.
Well, I also would just, if I may ask a question, is that permitted?
Go ahead.
Just so I also have clarity, since your basis has been evidentiary, you keep saying that you have evidence or like you are following evidence. Which one of the charges against, or all of them, do you think Tyler Robinson is guilty of?
Here we go.
The specific charge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I think is that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, but of the 7 charges that he's being charged.
Yeah. Can we list them real quick? I'll tell you exactly which ones. We'll pull them up.
Well, do you know any of the charges that he's up for right now?
Yeah, of course. But I
Can you
want to make
name
sure that we
one?
have them listed.
Yeah, but like can you name one? Because my general perspective is that you don't actually care about this case. You're not following
Is that
the
it?
case.
That's the
Yeah.
question. You're
Yeah,
just
but-
not
but
following
it
it
seems,
enough.
It seems pretty like if you're going to engage and you're going to say the evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson is guilty. I just think that you should. Like,
All right.
Can you tell me one?
Then let's do the
charge that
counter.
he's-
You can really, hang on. This is a great gotcha.
No. You just got to ask me, play
Yeah.
clips out of context,
Yeah,
put me
yeah.
in the hot seat. So please just answer the
This
question.
is fair.
Can
Name
you
all
name-
7
can
since
you-
you've been following the case.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
You name one.
Yeah, you named all 7.
I'm happy to do that, but can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, great. Now name all 7.
He doesn't even. This is like.
Name all 7.
And I.
Can you
I
name
think
all 7?
I can't.
Then do it.
But you couldn't
Sure,
name
you don't
one.
have to
Do
put
it. No, do it. I'll count them. Go ahead.
You don't have
name
to put
them.
your fingers up. I
Okay.
can
It
name
gets
them.
so much worse, bro.
The first charge is aggravated murder because that's what carries
Okay.
a death sentence in the
murder.
state of Utah. No,
Next.
that is literally not murder.
Okay.
And so just for people, I don't have to do it in a time limit. There's nothing going on. And just to explain to people the difference of why that really matters and shows that he doesn't actually care about this at all is because aggravated murder, it's narrowly defined, and because it carries a death sentence. I'm going to answer the question.
Okay,
you're just going to recognize that your strategy of thinking that people are intimidated when you try to put a time constraint doesn't work, and you'll be better the next time you debate someone.
I got it. Give me the other ones.
The more you cut me off, the longer I'll take. Do you want to just wait for me to finish of why that's a big difference so that people don't walk away?
I just want you to list the charges.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. You just don't get to pretend there's a time constraint for me to do that.
Well, how long does it take you to list 7 charges?
Because I'm speaking. You just got to.
It sounds like you're just delaying it because you don't know them.
I know all 7 of them.
Then
and I'm going to say
them
again, because you're going to get embarrassed. You don't have to rush this. I'm also showing an example of a very flawed debate strategy. I actually am under no time constraint.
I got one.
Great. The second charge is the felony discharge of a weapon. The next 2 charges are for obstruction of justice.
Okay.
The next 2 charges are for witness tampering. And
what's the specific charges, though?
That is them. Obstruction of justice, obstruction of justice, witness tampering. Okay.
And there's no other specifics to them.
Well, I can tell you why he's being charged.
No, just the charges and then 7?
Yeah. See, the bad thing is when you try to be an a-hole and it doesn't work.
What's the 7th?
The last charge is violence in front of a minor.
Okay. Got it. So then he's being charged with murder. You just say aggravated murder. That's the distinction. You just want to.
It's a massive. It's like you cannot say murder versus aggravated murder.
Distinction.
This gets to the entire crux of why him being up for the death sentence. And I actually find the defense's filing about why this is not aggravated to be very compelling of why it's not aggravated murder. I actually think that if the state was going to even try to pull this off, they should have charged him with just murder. And then I do also, again, want to stress to audiences that debate strategy of thinking that you have to speak faster or somebody puts your hand up and they try to pretend like it's some sport. I think he thinks it's a blood sport. It's not. It's about being right and being principled when you're engaging. And you can make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but at least be genuine in pretending that you care about this case enough to know 1 of the 7 charges that are up against Tyler Robinson when you say the evidence is overwhelming that he's guilty. If you would like to move to final statements, I'm fine. I want to make sure Andrew has had the time that he has requested.
I think your team would like to pull up the 7 charges that he just asked you about. If you guys want to pull that up. Just
yes, they would.
The 7 you went through. Can you guys zoom in a little bit? For
aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, which is counts 3 and 4, 5 and 6, tampering with a witness, and count 7
violent
I said offense in the presence of a minor.
Yeah. So 5, 6, tampering witness, 3rd degree felony. Now I did notice something. I just was curious about. If I'm just wondering, when you pulled out your phone just before you asked that question, did somebody by chance text you that question?
You can check my phone.
I'm just curious.
No, you can absolutely not. I have not had one communication with a single person, not even my producers who are in there this whole time we were here. You want to check my phone? I'm happy to do it because you're just going to get double embarrassed. Where's my phone?
You want to see it?
I'm just curious. Yeah.
You can literally do that. Here you go. PBD, you're the moderator. Take it.
Let's see
if anyone was texted at all during this debate.
All right.
About the violent charges or anything.
I'm looking through this. You give me permission.
You have full permission to go through my phone. I don't need to cheat.
So the last one has nothing to do with it. It's just a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even read my text messages.
That's a compliment.
He's reading them.
You're okay. You're giving me permission.
Yes.
I'm just going to read 3 of them, see 1132, because after that, I don't need to read it.
And you know, they're texts. Could have been Telegram. Could have been something.
All I have is Signal. You can check that too. I only have Signal. Telegram I used in Russia. And that was it. I downloaded for Russia.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. I don't need to I deeply care about this case. I don't need to pretend to know
if you
stuff
deeply
that I
care
don't
about
know.
the case,
Yeah.
I just, I have my other question is about the steakhouse receipt.
You just said that you were done asking all your questions.
So nothing there.
I don't
do you have the steakhouse receipts? My question.
This is embarrassing, but again, like the normal guy, we have said this a week ago when this was first introduced as a thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, yes, he's getting humiliated, he's getting embarrassed, but we have been saying for the last week and a half that this was going to be the most pointless debate because Andrew Wilson does not care about whatever the case is. He does not care.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah, that was tough.
Did somebody text you while you were she's staring at you as she's talking.
She read a text with no hands, bro.
Come on, that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen her do anything with her phone in this entire 3 hours, bro.
I have said several times that I have never said I have the receipt for the steakhouse. I have said the person who's working on that story is going to be forthcoming with the receipt, and that was what I was responding to. And he then dropped the receipt. He redacted elements of it, and I said, "Stay tuned. He's the one working on that story."
Okay, so you haven't actually confirmed that Robinson was at that steakhouse.
All I did, as I said earlier in this conversation, was I spoke to the owner when I broke that story. I think it was back in January. I spoke to the owner, understood what had happened, and that there was a receipt. that's it. That's the extent of what I shared is what happened.
Okay, so to be clear, there's no receipt.
No, I just did the opposite. I said there is
well,
a
you
receipt.
don't have a copy of the receipt.
The receipt was published online.
Yeah, right, with blurred out.
The person working on this story that blurred that out is what I was referring to when I said stay tuned and keep following his stuff, because he went to go do what I hadn't done, which was he interviewed the actual server.
So there's no evidence that Tyler was at that steakhouse?
I would say the receipt with his debit card number, it would be some hard evidence if that
I agree with that.
Yeah,
but,
so that's it. But you're questioning me.
But is there, as of right now...
He paid. If you're asking me, did he pay with a credit or debit card? The answer is yes.
No. Is there proof that that was actually his debit card that he paid with?
I think you should follow the person that is behind that story.
Well, the reason I'm asking you is because you always include it in your timeline that he traveled to the steakhouse.
Yeah, we've been building a timeline with things that we feel are
but is there any actual
Utah 1102
evidence?
approved. I think speaking to the owner, knowing that there's a receipt, seeing the receipt is good enough to put on our timeline.
But the receipt itself, the question I always had about it is, couldn't you just call the merchant? Like if I've ever had a merchant account, I just call the merchant account processor and say, what's the name on this?
Yeah, I would stay tuned. I feel that having spoken to the owner, that the evidence is compelling enough to put onto my personal timeline of what took place on that day. That's where it's going to stay. And if it gets debunked, I'm happy to take it off. If that's what you mean, that's how an investigation works. Like I said, I did more than enough. It would definitely pass the test by the Utah 1102 rule, for sure, for certain.
To be submitted as hearsay.
Well, yeah, beyond that, because they didn't even have receipts. They were like, Bob told me this.
But the question is, the receipt itself, it has not been verified to have been Tyler Robinson's.
I just want to say you're holding me to a higher standard than you are.
I'm not even holding it. I'm just asking specifically.
Yeah, I've been very forthcoming. I've told exactly what happened. I spoke to the owner. I got the tip, and
so should that be added in an official timeline that you give?
It's in my timeline. It's my show, and we can add and subtract what we want, and we do. If
you
we
can
get
do what you
wrong,
want, sure. But I'm asking, should you include a thing that you know hasn't actually been verified to be Tyler Robinson?
Yes, you should. If we're trying to build a timeline, you should. Yeah.
You don't think that falls under...
And then you should remove it if someone somehow debunks it. But I think that there is very strong evidence that is where he was, and that
what's the strong evidence? Just the two people who said that they saw him?
You know, I'm actually all good with I feel like I've sufficiently answered your question about how I got the information, what happened next, with the next stage of this investigation.
I'm actually all set, boss.
Somebody accessing knowing what his debit card was and confirming it, yes, and I do believe that will happen. If it does not happen and it gets debunked, I'll remove it from my personal timeline that I share on my show.
That officer, the first officer that was up on the roof, do you remember his name?
Officer Bagley.
Yeah, what was his first name?
Christopher.
When Christopher got up on the roof, you talk a lot about how his camera died.
Well, he talked a lot about that during the preliminary hearing.
Died.
Yeah.
Do you think that he planted that screwdriver up there?
No.
Who do you think planted it?
If we're just going on am I allowed to have an opinion?
Of course.
At this stage, I would say that I don't buy his assertion on the stand that he didn't check to see if anybody went onto the rooftop before he got up there. I do think that it's possible. It's at least plausible that the screwdriver was planted. I don't believe him. What I can say strongly is that his cam died at just the right time. His body cam died at just the right time. I think that, as you were just grilling me about whether or not I had got the merchant receipt for a debit card, that kind of makes it difficult that we just have to sort of trust that a screwdriver was found and we don't have any should be evidence of a police body cam. But like I said, you accept that stuff and then are like, did you call the merchant and get like, it just seems like you
I'm not adding
hold, like I said, you hold the prosecution to a state to a higher standard than you do to people.
Unconfirmed evidence to an official timeline that I'm putting out either.
What do you mean official timeline?
Yeah, I found that weird too. Somebody talked about the officers. Why did he question about the officer's full name? I found that strange too. I don't know why I can't come to a solution in my head or a conclusion in my head conclusion in my head. But
yeah, he didn't go anywhere with that, huh?
Yeah, like I don't know why he wanted the first name, because Officer Bagley is good enough. But yeah, that was kind of weird.
This is my timeline. I made it at home.
So then it would be official to your show?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, great. So then your official timeline, Candace Owens' official timeline includes a steakhouse stop that has not actually been confirmed at all.
Well, yeah, it hasn't even been discussed by the prosecution. So it's not like you're debunking that it happened.
Well, there's no evidence for it. There's no good evidence for it at all. There's no camera there. And the steakhouse receipt itself has never been confirmed to be Tyler Robinson's.
I'm assuming this is just like a talking point they gave you and you got to like keep pushing this or like.
I've been following it very closely on X.
The receipt, you weren't even following the charges of Tyler Robinson, but you really wanted to know. You've been following it very closely on X. I'm calling owners of steakhouses and having a conversation. You're following Congo on X.
I literally followed the entire trial or the preliminary live. I was live with an attorney. We covered all of it. You think because I have a momentary or lapse where I'm like, oh, it's murder? No, it's aggravated murder. Come on.
You didn't know any of the charges charges.
splitting
You
hairs.
no, that's not splitting. It means you didn't follow the preliminary hearing at all.
No, it doesn't mean
you
that
don't
at
know
all.
any of
That's
the charges that are
ridiculous.
against him. When this is like getting literally to the crux, aggravated murder versus murder.
It's
a
ridiculous.
death sentence.
And not only that, let's point this out. One of the major things here is that this is your official timeline.
It's mine.
Yes. Who else is going to be? Who else? It would be Candace
What's your
Owens'
issue?
I just
timeline.
don't know what his
What's your
issue is with my timeline.
What's your issue with that?
Well, so the issue is that the entirety of the evidence revolves around two people who claim that he was there and supposedly a receipt. There's supposedly a receipt where Tyler Robinson paid for his steak and his soft drink. No alcohol, right? No alcohol, right? You know nothing about the case. But anyway, this particular receipt, they could have called the merchant account, confirmed it, this type of thing. To date, this receipt has only the blurred information on it that would actually give you the information to confirm whose receipt it is. We have today, nobody has confirmed that this was actually Tyler Robinson's receipt. And yet inside of Candace Owens' timeline, which she states over and over again, when she says, this is the longest 13 hours, this is 13 and a half hours, the requirement for about roughly 5.5 or 6 hours of that is that he went to the steakhouse. And that's not been confirmed at all. Not even a little bit.
I feel like saying that I spoke to the owner of the steakhouse is me, like, not just being on X looking at opinions, but actually doing the legwork. And that's why like I said, if you think this builds up a rapport with your audience and makes you seem like a serious person, we don't have to keep belaboring the point here. I feel like I've demonstrated that I did as much as I could to confirm this when it came in. I spoke to the owner of the restaurant, obviously took down everything he said, noted that there was, in fact, a receipt that he pulled. That receipt that was published is real. A debit card and a credit card was used. If for some reason somebody misidentified something down the line, or we find out it's a different Tyler Robinson, I'm happy to remove it from my timeline. But for right now, I think that there's enough under the Utah 1102 rule for me to keep it there. I don't really think we need to keep going into circles about this receipt. It's my timeline.
I don't know why the 1102 rule would apply here for your
because
timeline.
You will constantly cite things that are said in that courtroom that have less evidentiary support than me contacting and speaking with the owner of the restaurant. It's not like I dreamed it, as to use your expression. So it's in my timeline, and I'm going to keep it there if that's
sure.
Cool.
You can keep whatever you want there.
Okay.
I'm just saying that there's no evidence he was ever there.
Okay, thank you.
No hard evidence anyway. Yeah, I'm fine with closing.
Okay, so the last thing we're going to do before we go into ad break, right after this, will be final thoughts. I'll be asking both of you if anything on your opinion, thoughts changed on the case, and then we'll finish it up from there. So with that being said, a 3.5 minute break, and then we'll come back for final thoughts.
All right.
All right, you guys, if someone followed you everywhere that you...
Yeah, I mean, this was expected.
Yeah.
Like literally start to finish, everything that we talked about yesterday, everything that I've been saying as well all week. Like it's just no surprise.
Nope.
And then what's crazy is the problem I have with the whole like distraction thing is X. Like I said, when I'm going on X and I'm looking at everybody's comments and all the action that's going on, you got Paramount Tactical hosting a space right now titling, Andrew Wilson destroyed Candace Owens. Like, you know what I mean? It's right back to these conversations of like, this has nothing to do with moving the needle of what actually happened. Nope. You know what I mean? Now everybody's, Candace did this, Andrew Wilson did this. And it's like, dude, there should be 0 people saying Andrew Wilson did a great job. You can come from the most unbiased perspective. This dude did not put on, I mean, I think this is normal for him, but he did not put on his best performance, if you want to call it that. I think I'm being pretty generous.
Yep, completely agree.
This is pathetic, bro. And it's just the fact that we saw this coming, from a mile away.
And the fact that she got the charges correct, all 7 in order, like that one point alone would be enough for a reasonable person to be like, okay, Candace did a good job, or Andrew messed up here, right? To come out and say Andrew destroyed Candace, like, okay, like you're clearly not being objective, but these people haven't been objective the whole time. So, like, to your point, what should we expect?
Exactly. That's why it's like it's all kind of just strange to me, because I'm like, there's no way any logical person gets out of this that Andrew Wilson destroyed Candace Owens. Like I said, I said it a couple of times that there were a few points 2 hours ago that I was like, I can see what he's saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, valid point. But that was, again, 1 to 2 points in 3 hours, bro. Like,
Yep.
oh my gosh.
A couple people in the chat are like, why was he picked? I actually, I did a super chat with Brandy and Stu and all them, and I asked the same thing because, from my perspective, why would you? I get Andrew's like, okay, he does debates, he's in this space, he debates against women, cool. The dude also is a chain smoker, so like you don't know what you're going to get just from his like temperament, right? He's not well versed in terms of the information in the case. So what is it about him that he gets the nod in terms of challenging Candace? Like, and in the argument of like, oh, it's to cause confusion, cause chaos. It's like, but did he? Like, he didn't even really achieve that. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of just was there.
Yeah, that's something that I'm gonna have to think about all night and tomorrow and throughout the weekend of just like, why Andrew Wilson? You know what I mean? You could have brought up, Tim Pool, somebody that can't stand Candace and that's been kind of following the case a little bit. And, he probably would have been a little bit more passionate, and you can tell that he's been following it a little bit more than Andrew Wilson. But like, when you got somebody like Andrew Wilson get up here just like doesn't know anything, and at this point all he's doing is asking Candace, what does she know? Like, that's all he's been doing for the last 2 hours. What do you know about this? What do you know about that? You're supposed to be talking about how the evidence is so overwhelming that you said at the beginning in your opening statement that it was only 75%. Well, that last 15 to 25%, that's the argument that everybody on the internet is talking about. So if you can agree that there's a 25% meter in your head that there is reasonable doubt, then what are we talking about? This is pointless.
You walked into an L already. Yeah, it makes no sense.
Bruh.
It's crazy.
Andrew, maybe a good
check out.
All right, we are finally at the end. For those of you that are watching it, maybe a good commentary for you would be the following on if you're a Andrew fan and you are still saying, you know what, Andrew's arguments were solid, great. Candace, great. But did anything change your mind? Did you watch and say, you know what, I had this position over here. This would be an interesting commentary to hear. And of course, for all the people that are watching, I was just whispering to them here before we wrap it up. I think whether you're a fan of Andrew or not, whether you're a fan of Candace or not, nobody can dispute the fact that these guys agreed to sit down and talk live. Others were thinking this was pre-recorded. This is not pre-recorded, just so everybody knows. This is purely live. This is a little bit scarier than pre-recorded, because pre-recorded you can do edits. So whether you agree with them or not, let's make sure we respect both of them for having to sit down. And before the final thoughts, I want to make sure you guys hear that from me as well, for inviting me here as well.
Of course.
I do know one day, I think it was last week, you sent a message on one of our accounts. You said, can I talk to Patrick? We got on the call. You said, Patrick, can you moderate this? And then I said, great, let's do this. And so before we wrap up, final thoughts, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, she had nothing. Just nothing. For all of her.
Dude, are we serious right now, bro? I had to see her for 3 hours. Listen to this. For him to say, yeah, she said nothing. In 3 hours, she said absolutely nothing. Okay, bro. All right.
Can't even give her flowers for the few
nothing.
Things that she did get right.
Come on, bro. You feel me?
You got
She didn't have a single claim. She didn't have a single solid piece of evidence. She had no positive evidence Israel's involved in anything. No positive evidence that France is involved in anything. No positive evidence TPUSA is involved in anything. No positive evidence that Erica Kirk is involved in anything. When I asked her about her claims about Erica Kirk, yeah, it was just funning. It's just funning, Or, yeah, I do think that she needs to sit down and ask some questions, or answer some questions. But you know what? I don't even know if
That's actually a great point. Somebody said, and I don't know if she was the first person to say it, but somebody said that he brought up that text message at the beginning of the debate, but he never showed it. But yet he's sitting here begging Candace to reveal her sources and all the other stuff, but he has not showed that whatsoever. And then that goes against, I thought I saw it in the comments earlier as well. This goes against what Erica said on Glenn Beck's thing back then when she said Charlie never sent messages out to anybody saying that he felt like he was going to die. He's confirming it right here that yes, he did. You know what I mean? Like, but he never showed that text message. Once again, he's expecting Candace to just believe him. But Candace also didn't ask for the proof. But Yeah, that is interesting that he didn't show that or reveal who sent that to him. What did he say? Like TPUSA just gave it to him or something like that?
He walked in good faith.
Right. And out of all the evidence and that all the overwhelming evidence that they have, that was the only thing that was like a gotcha moment. Here, take this with you, Andrew. This one text. Everything else, they left this guy high and dry. He don't know nothing else.
And it doesn't make sense because it's a confirmed lie. We
Right.
know that they were denying that Charlie said these things. So what does you feeding him that text even prove? We knew you lied about it already.
Right. Once again, it's one of those weird things that I got to wrap my head around, which is why Andrew Wilson,
unfortunate,
and whoever sent him, why did they just set him up for failure? That why would you want to make Candace look good? You know what I mean? I'm trying to think like the other side. Why would you create this whole big thing that the entire, you know, we talked about it last night, this bubble, because I wouldn't say it's the whole world. Yes, it was a lot of people. It was millions on people's channel. But again, this is 342 million people in the country versus collectively what we could say highball 20 million, 15 million that tuned in today. Right. So again, why would you put all this attention on Candace Owens where she can come out victorious and look so great if you're TPUSA? It just doesn't. I can't understand it, bro. It doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
Like maybe she has. I have no idea. I don't even know if she has. Like maybe she has. I have no idea. Yes, I'm going to have an official timeline with unconfirmed evidence. That's just fine. Hey, it's hearsay. If that's good enough for the state, it's good enough for me. But my biggest problem with the state is that they're admitting all this hearsay. It's like she's a contradiction machine. On top of all of this, the thing that I wanted to get out of this more than anything else was to just demonstrate one thing.
Well, we're at the end, so I'm sorry if I keep pausing. But as soon as this is over, we're going to call it a night. So I'm just throwing my comments out there. But someone said they had faith in Andrew Wilson. And I'm like, again, how?
How, Sway?
Me and JR talked about it last night, but I know it's been a week and a half of me saying this entire time that it's going to be a nothing burger. All he's going to do is beg for the sources for her to drop, and he's just going to harp on that the entire time. He's not going to know anything because he doesn't care about the case. So if I know that, how does somebody that has $300,000 on the line and all of these dollars being thrown around, how would TPUSA not know this? If I know this, I don't know.
Yep.
Yes, it's true. I'm not perfect on the case. I'm not going to ever pretend that I am, and never did. But what has been made very clear to me is that there's nobody with an alternative theory that has any evidence for it at all. None. Zero. And the continuous kind of expression, we're running an investigation. What kind of investigation builds a timeline out on a receipt that they don't even confirm? What kind of investigation tries to make these bold claims that Israel's involved and France is involved and all these different players are involved and never shows any evidence? We're just asking questions. It's again, like I said in my opening, it's always intuition, my feelings, how I feel about things, how I think about things. Andrew, how many times did you hear this today? Andrew, you can't tell me how I'm supposed to think. Yeah, nobody's trying to tell you how to think. But you should rationally come to your conclusions based on evidence and facts. And the truth is that 90% of what you're saying is simply intuition based. It came to me in a dream. It's intuition. Almost none of it has any evidence at all. Just I'm skeptical because these people over here said things, and that makes me skeptical. And it's like, but no evidence. Note this to the audience, to everybody watching. You might hate my guts. That's fair enough. I get that. I'm not the most likable man. I understand that too. But there was nothing. I mean, no evidence at all that Tyler Robinson was a patsy that was ever put forward by Candace this entire debate. Now, maybe you could say that we stalemated when it came to whether or not Robinson did it. She says, I found the evidence convincing, or unconvincing. Andrew says he found the evidence convincing. Okay, fair enough. Maybe you can't do too much about that. But there was nothing. She had nothing for Robinson being a patsy, nothing for any of her conspiracies. Not a zero, zilch. And she backed away on a bunch of them. This is the first time I think she's ever really backed away from the Twigs thing. First time I've heard her back away from the Erica thing, back away from TPUSA, being very cautious about making any of those claims now. Whereas on her show, much more likely to be making those claims. So she just had nothing the entire debate. Zero.
Candace.
Well, I think that is quite a conclusion. Admitting somewhere, maybe we stalemated. It probably signifies what I've been saying from the beginning, that you didn't feel that you were strong on the actual facts and the evidence, which I was willing to engage with you. I wanted to go over the screwdriver. I wanted to go over the towel and the things that you've mentioned, and you wanted to then move the conversation into a defense of Erica Kirk and her character, and what I've said about Erica, which is my opinion. And I have not edited that opinion after discussing with you. I would like to extend a compliment to you for being willing to sit down and to have the conversation. I still walk away feeling that the people who are jumping on the bandwagon about this case don't care about this case. They don't care about Erica Kirk. It tends to be follow that they take a meeting with Turning Point USA and they come out and suddenly have a lot of junk to say about Candace Owens. And I do want to also stress that Turning Point USA tried to pepper him with something as a surprise. He showed clips that were meant to be a surprise. I did no such thing. I stressed to PBD from the beginning that I was grateful he was taking this on and that I wanted this to be a clean debate because I believe I can win this on the merits. And I believe that I did win this fully on the merits by engaging the evidence of what has happened. I do still believe that there is more evidence which supports that there are more people involved and that Tyler Robinson has been set up, and that none of the evidence that was presented was in any way overwhelming, which is why I think you wanted to move to end that discussion quickly and to speak to me about France and to talk about this Panguitch receipt and my timeline. I want to remind people that a lot of the at-home investigators, which you were open to, as you called them, internet sleuths. I think it was on a show that you did right after Charlie was assassinated, that internet sleuths would solve this. This is the reason why Charlie, a year on, is still a conversation every single day trending on Twitter. I knew Charlie. I cared about Charlie. I care about finding out what the truth is here. My heart is in the right place. I think anybody who watches my show or even just watched this debate knows that if I get something wrong, I'll instantly correct it and own it. I'm not arrogant. I don't need to sit here and pretend that I didn't misspeak on the Lance thing. It hasn't been ruled out. But you saw that he just really wanted to hammer that point. You know, part of being a well-meaning person is to concede when you are wrong, to take something off a timeline when you know it's not right. And I would like to think that that is why I have earned the audience that continues to follow me, because they know my heart's in the right place, that I deeply cared about Charlie and I deeply care about the answers. I want to thank Andrew's team who are providing the fact checks. It's a very small room that they're in. I want to, as always, thank my team who worked really hard to make this happen and flip this set. And to you, PBD, just for being a great moderator. I think very fair, letting us both speak and making sure that Andrew got out of this what he wanted, which is a little more than what I wanted. But I'm very content with how I dealt with this. And I trust, I don't need to convince the audiences with the magic trick of what they need to think about this debate. They can watch it and draw their own conclusions.
Beautiful. Fair from both of you. I think the audience won. And again, from the beginning, all of this is because of how much love and respect we have for Charlie Kirk, a great man that's no longer here with us. His 1-year anniversary is coming up here. I can't believe it.
That's I'm gonna let him finish.
It's that quick that is here. The audience, you also won if you did support the Crucible, support the Candace show, support the PBD podcast, subscribe to the channel. This is how you help these voices get out even more, especially going into future when this happens. You want a lot of independent creators to have these types of discussions. And last but not least, the two of you, I respect you guys again for having this conversation. It is not easy to do so. Hopefully this will lead to more discussions. A lot of different things we talked about. I'm sure there will be a lot of follow-up. With that being said, take care, everybody. God bless. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Twizzle.
Yeah, so I guess my final thought is one. What I was about to hit on is that this was not for Charlie or anything like that. The guy doesn't even know anything about the case. I don't know how many times we got to say that. He doesn't care. Now, what a lot of people are gonna say on X, I'm not gonna agree with, because everybody's just gonna jump on the whole Candace obliterated him, Candace did this, Candace won, blah blah blah. But again, when me and you talked about it last night about what defines winning in this, it didn't happen, right? We didn't learn anything new, right? The case didn't go forward a little bit. People love to hit on the part of, oh, this will bring exposure to the case. No, it doesn't, right? It doesn't at all. The news media, the mainstream media is not going to be talking about this debate. It's going to be our bubble, and it's going to be half the bubble or maybe a little bit under half the bubble, pushing that Andrew Wilson won, and it's going to be this whole thing.
Yep.
The needle didn't move. We didn't learn anything new, because a lot of people say, oh, maybe she was going to wait to drop new evidence or, new things, I guess, new bombs in this debate. That didn't happen either. Not that I was expecting it, because again, I knew that Andrew Wilson was going to be like, tell me everything, and she wasn't going to do it.
Right.
So I don't really see, me and you talked about it last night, but I don't see the whole win-win thing at all. This was crazy.
The only thing that I would say, if you want to point to something that we could call a win, and this is something that I even had to like, okay, I need to check what I said last night about Candace. She proved how good she really is at her job.
Absolutely.
Her ability, somebody said it in the chat, her ability to have all of these facts like on the ready mentally. She didn't read her opening statement. That was off the dome. She freestyled. Like,
Absolutely.
and to have all of that just ready to go, if nothing else, it demonstrates how passionate, how well prepared she was for this debate. And if nothing else, I hope that at least people who might be Candace naysayers can at least be like, okay, I might not agree with everything she says. I might even think she's a nut job still. But you can't call her stupid. You can't say she's ignorant. You can't say she's, a dreamer. You know what I mean? She's a very articulate, well-informed person.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what sucks about this whole thing, is because the people that are haters of Candace, like they don't care to agree with you on that. You know what I mean? They're gonna still push that Candace lost. You know what I mean? They're not gonna concede to anything of oh, Candace did well. They're not gonna say that at all. They're gonna say she lost.
No.
And so, but I agree with you. And that was expected. So I definitely, I know we last night had great conversations about everything, and yes, we talked about absolutely everything, but Candace being phenomenal at what she does has never been in question. That's why we watched this whole thing.
That's true.
We knew she was going to be amazing. Her and Charlie was the dynamic duo for a reason. Like it was the same person, just in different forms. So, when she talks, that's why a lot of people love her so much. Well, many different reasons, but she is just like Charlie, bro. They just know everything off the dome so quick. And so I'm not surprised at all how she performed. It was amazing. And I think that's why it was so frustrating at who her opponent was, because I was like, this is who's going against Candace? You know what I mean? Like, y'all wasn't prepared for something different. And then somebody talked about the 300K. We talked about it last night. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is not, y'all, we're not going to agree on everything. So that to me is not a win of her just getting the 300K with this guy that just wasted so much time. Then you have to think about who put the 300K forward, and all of that stuff. And then on top of that, I just didn't want that side to have anything to bring up on Candace. Like this whole time they've been saying, she's only doing it for money. So if y'all are gonna now say, hey, at least she got the money, then that proves that their point is, what I mean? I just didn't want at all to have money involved. So that's why I'm like, yo, Andrew Wilson, again, we're all regular people. Somebody's probably going to say, shoot, I would have took the 300K. But Andrew Wilson is so terrible that it was one of those like, bro, one, I'm either going to ignore you. Two, I'll debate you for free because you're trash.
Yeah.
You're not worth my time.
Right. I'm not giving you no money, dog. No.
I'm not going to help you gain your following. I'm not going to help you with your GoFundMe exposure. None of that. You're not going to be attached to my name. This is just me speaking. Candace can do whatever she wants. But when people think of you, I don't want them thinking of me. You know what I mean? That's how bad of a. So when somebody says Andrew Wilson from this day forward, they're going to say, "Oh, Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson debate." No, I don't want. I didn't want that at all because of how bad this person is.
Yep. I completely agree. I will also, to the point I mentioned earlier, I think it's a win for believers because it's important for us to see how many wolves in sheep's clothing there really are out here in these streets. And Andrew Wilson is a perfect example of that. If we don't have our ear to the streets and are really able to use our discernment and have the Holy Spirit actually lead us in some of these things, we just go around calling people like Andrew Wilson a Christian. And then you go out and you look at his fruit and it's like, nah, bro. Like, so if nothing else, exposing him for what he truly is from that standpoint, from the spiritual aspect, I would take that as a dub. Now for $300,000, no, but I would take that as a dub nonetheless.
I agree, and I think I 100% agree with you. It did expose him in I guess a positive light for us, because now you're able to identify, like you said, the wolves in sheep clothing. And moving forward, a lot of people hopefully will recognize who he is and maybe turn away from his content and not take him serious if they used to take him serious. And so yeah, you are right. That is, I guess, something that you can take from it that is a positive, I guess, perspective. But
if you look at it, if you really look at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Nah, man. What? But I mean,
I got a question for you though.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. And maybe this is for the chat too, because I see there's a dude in here, Richard, who's like arguing that there's all this evidence and we're just ignoring it all. The way that I've approached this, and maybe you're different, we're talking about a shooting that took place, right? So for me, the only two pieces of evidence that I'm really looking at is the shooter and the shot. Everything else to me is secondary. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you could go watch Valhalla. There's another guy literally take a 30-06 and shoot through quarter-inch steel. And just play that in your mind in comparison to what we saw happen to Charlie. And automatically you should be asking questions. There's something that doesn't add up. How can this round create this type of damage in one scenario and the complete lack of that damage in another scenario? And then the second part is Tyler Robinson being on campus. And this is what's important. I actually looked this up while we were rewatching the debate. Do you remember, I told you I live in the Chicago area. Do you remember the FBG Duck murder?
Yes.
Back
Yeah,
around
the one
2020?
that was like downtown Chicago, like the rich side, and they gunned them down in
Michigan
broad
Ave,
daylight.
bro.
Yeah.
The Magnificent Mile. When I tell you the cops found all 5 dudes from O Block, and you could go on what's homie's name? Trapler Ross. You could go on his page and he did a breakdown on it. They have 90 minutes of these dudes leaving O Block, driving to downtown Michigan, committing the murder, driving back to O Block. And the big thing with that for me, we don't have flock cameras here. They did that all off traffic cams and like banking ATM cams. Now compare that to Orem, Utah, where they do have flock cameras. So they have the ability to actually read license plates and know exactly who it is driving these vehicles. And we have not seen a single piece of evidence that even ties the Charger to Tyler Robinson.
Right.
I don't understand how people can ignore such obvious, blatant discrepancies in evidence and still stand 10 toes on the fact that Tyler Robinson is guilty. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I 100% agree with you. And I think that's why, that bigger picture conversation of like, what's going on here?
What's really going on? Yeah.
Normal people, this is not normal. This is not normal to continue this divide. And it's obvious that, I mean, Andrew Wilson just said himself, like, oh, I'm 75% sure. And it's like, well, that's the whole point. You know what I mean? Why are you here if you're not 100%? You're overwhelming is 100%, more than 100%, I guess you would say. But that's the whole weird thing about this case, is that something is off with this. Oh, I'm gonna push this, and when it's just, you're just going against your own logical thinking. If you're gonna go against the whole, like, you can't pinpoint Tyler Robinson here, you can't have his car here, you can't detect him on any flock cameras. It's just not clear as day. Like you said, the gun, the person, and maybe the wound itself. You know what I mean? Like all of these things that would match up. The autopsy, the bullet, the bullet being inconclusive, the autopsy that hasn't been shared to the public. Well, the whole thing in the prelim was kind of odd, but all of these things aren't definitive. You know what I mean? The autopsy doesn't really match a 30-06 wound. The bullet itself was inconclusive. The rifle has these weird things going on about it. The person, you can't even find the person holding the rifle on campus. It's a weird thing that if they really wanted this thing to be open and shut, which is what the other side, I hate saying other side because I think that's the whole objective, is to divide everybody. But what that side is pushing, saying that it's an open and shut slam dunk case, what pisses me off is that they could have made it that. So why
are
all of these little loose end and breadcrumbs happening. It could have easily made it open and shut. All them cameras on UVU campus. And you telling me you couldn't have just given me a clear as day Tyler Robinson? You know, it's just, I just feel like it's intentional.
Or just a continuous tracking. Can we see where he started, where he ended? It's like, okay, they gave us that, but the man is wearing 3 different outfits. So like, how does that work? How are we definitively saying that this is him every single time?
Right. And then I even heard Paramount Tactical. He said it on, I think it was reacting to Valhalla's Valhalla trying to replicate the shot to the best of his ability, because obviously it's hard to do the exact thing. And Paramount Tactical was reacting to it. And even Paramount Tactical was like, this is a 1 in a million shot that, got stuck right beneath Charlie's skin or whatever it was. And I was like, okay, to your logic, if it's a 1 in a million shot, let's just say if you're going to go with anything's possible, if it's a 1 in a million shot, then why are you sitting here trying to push down my throat that the 1 in a millionth time makes the most sense? That you're literally telling me that it's extremely rare, but somehow you're super confident in explaining to me how it happened. Like,
make it make sense.
Oh my gosh, bro! I just think that I just think that this didn't move the needle at all, and I think that our conversations are going to be very minimal compared to everybody else on X gassing up today and just running with it the whole weekend of Candace Owens destroyed them, and it's probably a million clips put out there of all of these things, and I just don't think anything happened from this at all.
Nothing that we can take home and be like, we can use this going forward. Like everything that we talk about after this, I probably won't have anything to do with the debate. To be honest, it'll be back to, and that's actually another point. Maybe who was it? There's a girl that Brandy and them had on their chat. Her name is ADN1776. I've never seen her before. But she made a really good point. You have?
Yeah, on I think I saw her on Bays a couple of times.
Okay. She made a really good point. I think it was her that said it, but it's like, what about all the things that they didn't talk about? Nobody talked about Fort Huachuca. Nobody talked about the Aspen video. Nobody talked about the Egyptian planes. Why? And especially Andrew Wilson, because his whole shtick is trying to pinpoint Candace and get her with gotcha moments on all these fringe theories that she has. But I would argue that the Fort Huachuca angle was probably her biggest fringe theory, and you didn't even ask her about that.
Right.
Why?
Because he don't know. He doesn't
know. He probably don't know what a Fort Huachuca is, bro. You ain't lying.
He doesn't know.
He probably has no idea.
No idea, bro. He literally, like he said many times in this debate, that he was prepping for it. And you could prep for a debate. That's fine. Study your opponent. But he was prepping because he doesn't know anything. He's trying to figure out his talking points. He's trying to figure out what has she said before. That's why I don't blame her. I know I criticized a little bit, saying like, if you said this in your podcast, you should feel confident to say it right now. But again, that's Andrew Wilson's job as your opponent to say, these are the things you have said. Here's clip. And, play the whole clip in full context. But here's clip. This is what you said. Now explain it. Why do you feel like this person's involved, that person's involved? But he literally had no clue of what he said, what she said about Erica outside of like general claims. Why did you say Erica played a role in killing her husband? It's like, she never said that, bro. But again, this is going on X and just going through all the people that just hate Candace. And he's like, oh, I'm just going to use all of these points. He has no idea. That's why it's so irritating in a way that this person who literally, I don't know how many times I got to say it, doesn't care. He does not care. He could care less about Candace. He can care less about Turning Point. He literally doesn't care about Erica. He's called her names.
Yep.
And this guy just got this big platform today, made X amount of money. It's ridiculous, bro. We didn't, but I will take your perspective that you mentioned as far as like exposing the wolves in sheep clothing, and hopefully somebody out there that may have I guess, saw Andrew in a positive light. Hopefully they revealed, like, hopefully they saw him for who he truly is or something like that. I don't know. It's crazy.
I don't know. It's wild.
Man, but I appreciate you for joining, man, because what was this?
Yes, sir.
3 hours and 30 last night. We was pushing 4 hours. So
we touched that 4
hopefully-
mark. Yeah,
man. So hopefully everybody enjoyed last night and tonight. Definitely drop your thoughts in the comments, thoughts, opinions, perspectives, and everything on a more specific question. Did this move the needle in the case? I'm not really trying to, you could throw in there if you feel like who won, but in my opinion, that's not really important. So I wouldn't necessarily say like, who do y'all think won? Do y'all think this moved the needle? Is this what y'all expected from this debate? And just drop in the comments what y'all think, man, because obviously this is going to be probably the talk of the weekend. That I'll probably throw some opinions out there a few times, but I'm definitely not finna go back and forth, or I don't want to spend more than 2 days talking about this nonsense.
yeah. Give it the weekend and move on, bro.
Man, for real. But shout out your socials, bro. So where can everybody find you?
TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, The Unleavened Truth. I got it right there, my name down there at the bottom. Joe Redmond, if you want to follow me on Facebook. I have an interview with an ex-TPUSA employee, Mitchell Manley. I have that dropping next week. We had a really good conversation, very similar to our conversation, Jay. So that'll be dropping next week. And then I'm going to be continuing my reset series, where I'm going over kind of like the big pillars in the Christian faith and kind of re-examining what they actually mean. I just dropped pillar 1 not too long ago about the house of Israel and who the true chosen people are. So that'll be the content that's coming out probably here in the next couple weeks to a month. And then obviously, September 10th, we got the 1 year of Charlie. So might have to get up with you again to do something for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. We gonna definitely have many more conversations for a while, bro. Like I said before,
Yes,
this whole podcast world, everybody that has chose to take that next leap of faith and using their voice, it's great. It's a beautiful thing, but there are also very interesting individuals that are in this space, and you are for sure cool people, like that is you're somebody that
bro.
I would for sure be looking forward to collabing again. I'll throw you right in there, like I said, with a few others in the past. But you're great people, bro. I'm so excited that we was able to do this back-to-back nights.
Yeah, bro. I really appreciate you giving me that opportunity and the platform. It really means a lot, bro. So thank you. You're good
bro.
people, man.
Man, well, I appreciate y'all for listening. Make sure you guys hit the like button again. I know we didn't say it too much. Hopefully, y'all wasn't annoyed with all the fair use pausing. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel again. Plenty of ways to support the channel: TikTok, X, so many different things. Y'all already know the whole spiel and shebang. So, I hope y'all have Friday? I hope y'all have a great weekend. We will probably be going back to maybe not tomorrow. We did back-to-back 4-hour nights. So no episode tomorrow. We'll probably be back on either Sunday or Monday. So turn your notifications on so that way you can be notified the next time we go live. But outside of that, I hope you have a great night. Love y'all. And we will see y'all on the next one.